Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Deepest Law. We're reviewing Adam Curtis, and for the 7th time, it's hypernormalization. Introducing first, of course, a huge star in the world of YouTubing and online politics, like a kind of political David Ginola. It's Nick Dixon. Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Hi. Well, thank you. I'm glad you've learned how to properly introduce me over the weeks. I appreciate it. Although on Twitter you just said that the company I worked for 3.5 years was a kind of containment slop vehicle. So
Well, in fact, I was giving it
swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
I was giving it an even more a kind of bigger backhanded compliment, if you want, which is that I think it's not just a vehicle, it is successfully reoriented the online space. So even independents and people with channels like this around the back door end up getting driven. Their agenda gets driven increasingly by the likes of GB News, Daily Mail, Telegraph, and as far as I can tell, everybody's just led by the nose yet again now by the MSM. So yeah, it's kind of worked pretty well.
Well, I'll say more on December 10th. Like my contract runs out on the 9th. I just think it'd be the funniest things, like you check in your bank account, and then you go straight on Dan Wootton, straight on, do a stream with Academic Agent, 4 hours. My GB News hell.
It'd be like when pro wrestlers used to leave the WWE, like the real dirt on Vince McMahon. You can do a shoot interview on the 10th.
The second it hits my account. And another thing, I mean, do you know what reminded me of that as well? Maybe I shouldn't get into this topic. Is a lot of my friends seem to have been invited to Israel, and I thought about posting about it. I thought I can't post about this, but I don't know. I thought maybe it's too controversial. I was going to say something like that a lot of people seem to be invited, and I would never go. Obviously, what was I going to say? I was going to say something like lots of people I know have been offered trips to Israel. It's all a bit weird, in my opinion, especially if you're a journalist, as you'll always appear compromised. Then I was going to say, luckily, I'm not important enough to be asked, but I would never go, except, of course, for $1 million. But I thought someone, with a picture of Dr. Evil, I thought someone will find that and take it seriously. But I've noticed a lot. It's actually true. I don't know, derail the stream, but lots of people I know are getting invited, and some have turned it down, and some have accepted it.
Curious, eh? Curious. Yes. Also, I mean, if Nick is the David Ginola of the team here, the massive star, the one with the flair and the talent, you also have to have players in the team who just keep things together, heart and soul of the locker room, and that's where Simon and Horace come in as a kind of Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes of the outfit.
Why does it have to be Man United players? I don't know. Like, you can choose better. Can I have like Gilberto Silva?
You could be a David Batty. You could be a Dennis Wise. But by the way, Scholes is probably the greatest genius of all time. So that's the wrong reference.
Okay.
I can only use.
No offense, guys.
What did I say last week? Chris Casper, John O'Kane, and Chris Casper.
Yeah, I've only got TV analogies for this. This is like a sort of 70s TV show where Nick gets starring Nick Dixon, and then we get the next screen that says with.
If with can still be honorary. Like
I think and is actually a higher pay. Didn't Marlon Brando get and Marlon Brando for Superman?
You kind of get that at the end, don't you?
At the end of the credits. Yeah.
You
got
the main
millions of pounds for millions of dollars for 5 minutes in Superman.
Yeah,
Superman's dad, famous.
The stupid thing, though. Go on.
I was going to say, AA is also enforcing the new contractual arrangements with Nick Dixon. We're not allowed to talk to Nick directly. Okay,
no,
that is. Like those films, Tom Cruise. That's it. Yeah.
Can I be Ray Parlour?
He was good. He was good.
He was a good player. He played for
Yeah,
England.
he's kind of a
he was
good
really good,
analogy for where I'm getting at. Yeah,
It was
Ray
not as
Parlour.
silky and stylish as
But he was a good heart and soul of the team sort of player, wasn't he? Ray
Yeah, and he
Parlour?
scored a couple of screamers as well. Like he did have quite a good.
Yeah,
right shot.
occasional screamer from Ray
Yeah,
Parlour.
The
Yeah,
problem
there
is,
we go.
I'm kind of
And
destroying my
Simon
start.
could be Michael Thomas. If we're going to go Arsenal.
Michael
And-
Thomas.
Oh
good.
yeah, he was good. Yeah, he was.
He was he was a very good player,
He was
but
very good. Yeah.
underrated. Whereas Nick can be like Dennis Bergkamp or something.
Oh, good.
Underrated.
The incredible touch of Bergkamp. Yeah. Well, do you know what though? I'm ruining my Bergkamp status because I'm not appearing on GB. I can't really. It's like just scheduling. I'm doing too many other things. And Paul, who does the podcast with me, is like gobbling up all my spots. And hello, Paul, if you're listening. He's gobbling up all the spots, and like Leo's still doing it, and I'm kind of destroying my star status by not doing it because I'm just milking this contract period as discussed in earlier episodes. Obviously, I should still be doing it right, but I don't.
I heard that
Yours, please.
invitation. Like it seems that like Connor Tomlinson triggered off this talk of people being invited on trips to Israel. He's
Oh,
like,
there, he said the
actually
name
kind of-
now.
Oh, sorry, but then I
That's
noticed
all right.
this has been like a divisive thing because there's that lady Saskia from the Women's Safety Institute, if that's what it's called, and
Women's Safety Institute.
and like we all initiative. Sorry, we all sort of support that, don't we? But she said she just remarked on Twitter, just one tweet, like one very very mild tweet, as mild as can be, just remarked on people going to Israel and like she's not doing that. And I heard third hand that that has been a major ruction, like that caused major ructions in the wussy, because they just suddenly get like lambasted by everyone else on the so-called right for daring to mention Israel without praising it.
Curious,
yeah,
I'm
horrible.
sure old Jess didn't go to Israel either.
I mean, Julia Hartley Brewer had a tweet from there, and it was like I almost like quote tweeted and said impartial journalism, but I couldn't be bothered. I just thought, why? I might at some point, but yeah, I saw at least Connor tried to do a critique, but it's not going to work, is it? If you go, you've gone.
Well, I mean, I think the truth is with that, you just shouldn't have gone. That's basically the bottom line. Doesn't really matter what you say, shouldn't have gone, and that's how most people are gonna think about it. I mean, it was very carefully worded. Kind of, I admired how delicately he was writing, because it takes control to write something that delicate. But as far as I can tell, he was still basically just giving like helpful tips on how better to sell Israel to the right. I mean,
well, no, but he was saying he wanted the same thing here, but that'll never be accepted. So you're using logic, but it's not about logic.
I'm also not really sold on this idea that that should be the model for us or for any other country. I mean, do you really look over there and think, yeah, we want that here? Not really. I mean,
and also like we're not Zionists about Britain. We are the British people. Like, I mean, there's no land to take back off anyone else. It's
all of their arguments as well. If you read Hazoni and all these sorts of people who I think was involved in Connor going there, it's all based on special pleading. It's all special pleading stuff, and that's obviously also not a frame that can be adopted by or should be adopted or looked at as a model for anyone else. You know.
I think. I mean, the thing is, I also see friends who I know have turned it down getting attacked, and I think that's a bit unfair. But of course, people don't know they've turned it down. And then I also know other people have accepted it. I know one person accepted it, and I sort of said to me, "You sure this is a good idea?" But he just loves an online scrap anyway, so he's looking forward to it. So you'll see that in the near future.
Has anyone gone and kept it on the low? Like they've done, they've gone but not mentioned it. That would be the ultimate, because that would be like, oh, you took the freebie trip, but you didn't tell anyone.
No, I haven't seen it. Well, I wouldn't know, would I?
If you were min-maxing it, you'd be like, yeah, I've gone. I'm just not going to say. Yeah.
I think that would just look shady, though, wouldn't it? That would just it's like, why did you not say?
The whole thing.
Like Priti Patel tried to not say.
Priti Patel actually got fired for it. To be fair.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Oh yeah, I'll remind people, pick up courses at the academic agency. Many great ones available. Trivium, Foundations of Economics, the original best. You'd like that one, Horace. It's all Austrian, and many others. Nick, anything you want to promote
Well, I will say the
Great.
courses are very good, and I've tried them. And also on my stuff, well, I'll be doing my podcast later today on my YouTube channel, which is going very well. Nick Dixon. Which, we're not up to academic agent levels. I think we got 20,000 subscribers now. And my Substack, nickdixon.net, where we have hundreds of paid subscribers, actually does it over, what's the word? Sort of over indexes on, is that the right word? On paid subscribers. Yes. My percentage is good.
Conversion rate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So go at one of those, NJ Dixon on Twitter. Thank you very much.
Horace, anything you want to provide, sir?
For now, just these excellent Deepest Law streams. I will announce when my new essay is ready, when it's ready.
And Simon...
Just a quick plug for our friend, the resident poet at the Jolly Heretic. Please go and follow him on Twitter. He's a premier reply guy.
Oh, he's back, yeah.
Resident_poet. And I'm also contractually obliged to say, please go to nickdixon.net and subscribe.
How dare you? Yeah, definitely follow Resident Poet, but also, how dare you say it's contractual? I didn't even mention, we just had a...
that was part of the contract. I wasn't meant to say.
Yeah, you're not meant to say.
It meant to make it look smooth and friendly.
Yeah. By the way, we just had an episode out with Stephen Barrett, who you may disagree on some things, but on law, he's very, very good, and people are really loving that episode because I asked him about all the legal stuff behind, Lucy Conley. I know people have views on that. Ricky Jones and all those things, and the Epping judge, and it's good to get an actual legal take on it, and people are really loving that episode.
Where are you actually from, Nick? Remind me.
I'm from Cumbria, in Lakes, and where we used to say now and Larlin and all these weird words, but I've lost my accent a bit, but that's where I'm from. The home of Wordsworth.
So if Simon starts taking mysterious trips to the Lake District, he's been paid off by Big Dixon.
Yeah, right. He's just there in the lakes going, this is all great. I don't understand why anyone doesn't like the lakes. This is beautiful. And then just talking about the mosque and stuff that they're planning. And yeah. It's quick word on what was I going to say about the lakes? Oh, it's gone out of my head. Crikey, what's wrong? Oh, yeah. I did my DNA test because Lotus Eaters made me do it. And not only am I from the north, I'm actually from the north, if you know what I mean. My DNA is just like, it was so northern, they sent me a free pie. It's northwest. I mean, I get 95.1% Great Britain and Ireland, and there's only a random 4.9% Viking in there, which I think I predicted. But northwest England, 52.2%, and then it's like Yorkshire, Lincolnshire for my dad, and all this. So I'm just incredibly English and incredibly northern. If you watch that episode, I do recommend that episode on Lotus Eaters actually, because we get to see where Carl's actually from, and it's pretty brutal.
Did it have the did it finally prove that he's 1/8 black or whatever? That must be the...
Yeah, it's really bad. It's just like Bantu and Indian and just all this. The guy, I mean, it's ridiculous. And then the rest of him is Welsh, and no offense, but he's basically, I mean, I don't know, it's the wrong stream to say he's basically half Welsh and half something else. He's basically you. I mean, it's, with some dodgy bits thrown in.
What's that sauce that they like up north? It's not Worcestershire. There's that kind of other sauce.
It's called gravy.
Daddies.
It's sarsen. What was that sauce that they all have?
Brown sauce?
Not gentleman's relish. No, it's some like...
Wait,
some
what?
like
Not that.
HB sauce? HB sauce?
It's called tomato ketchup.
Gentleman's relish is a euphemism for something that's not actually used as food usually.
No. There's a real thing called gentleman's relish. It's kind of fish-based sauce.
Great.
I'm
is
trying
it
to remember what it's called
sriracha?
now. No, there's that.
Is it
Henderson's. That's what it's called. Henderson's relish. You ever had that? Do they like that up north?
I don't. Let me have a look. I think I remember it.
About Kendall mint cake.
Yeah, I've seen Henderson's. I do know Henderson's. I did see it, around a lot.
I mean, the reason I think that is because now looking at the bottle, it says strong and northern on it.
Yeah.
And it's like a Liam Perrin's alternative.
Thing is, my dad was a chef, so he wasn't doling out a lot of Henderson's. You know what I mean? It was more high level because that was his job.
I see. So what was the thing about me being woke then?
Oh, you want to bring it up? Well, I didn't want to go there. I thought it would be rude. Well, I saw a couple of tweets from you. One tweet where you call out people for being racist. Then another tweet where you call out people for being transphobic. I'm like, He's not woke right. He's woke left.
Did
He's
I?
gone all the way.
No,
Just
hold,
crack
no,
the
hold on
road.
a second. I did not call anyone out for being transphobic.
You did.
When was that? How was that?
It was about reform. You said it's all just snide trans jokes.
Oh yeah. No, what happened was Labour released a list of who's going to replace Ange, and it was five. It was 5 women. Okay, on the list, actual women, and all of the comments were, oh, not enough trans women, or all of the comments were jokes about how these 5 women weren't trans enough, basically. And I was like, well,
So you were more objecting to the kind of just low level crappy
I
jokes.
just hate reform. I just hate the energy around it. I hate every aspect of it.
Well, I've been an extremely outspoken reform critic, even while working for the channel that's basically the reform channel, with obviously Farage and Goodwin and et al. But I didn't quite get what you were saying there. Okay, what about the racist one then?
So, well, on what's her name, Shabana Mahmood.
Yeah, because I have a nuanced take on this as well, but I'll let you go.
I mean, she is okay. Yeah, all right. She is a Muslim. Okay, but if you understand internal Labour dynamics as I do, she's actually a more hardcore shift from Yvette Cooper. She is going to be. She is a kind of shift in a blankety direction. So actually a good thing. But a couple of Tory rags put out some clip, and that's all anybody talks about. This is exactly what I'm talking. This kind of, when I say it's low IQ, I'm not saying you can't be racist. I'm saying you're doing it in a really low IQ way.
Yeah, don't take away our racism. Yeah, I mean, I've got a nuance.
Has triggered off a lot of dumbass takes. Like, how is she worse than Priti Patel? I don't think so. Like,
I know.
Even if the measure is of how many,
like
how much more Islamized the country will be after, like, even then, Priti Patel still wins. Like, it's bullshit.
I mean, Shabana Mahmood is not the representation of the institution of Sharia law in the country.
It's a caliphate.
This is what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
This is low IQ. She is actually a rightward shift within the Labour Party.
Yeah, and that's why
probably they're going to use her as a black lesbian shield against Corbyn calling them Islamophobic or whatever, So
that is all correct. So the thing is, it's both. The thing is, it's absolutely right that there's been all these American low IQ takes saying Britain has fallen. It's so annoying. They say Muslim homosexuality, Britain has fallen. It's like Britain hasn't. Stop saying Britain has fallen, you freaks. That is very annoying. And like you say, she's in with the McSweeney faction, and she has been brought into
Blue Labour. I know,
my
guys.
yeah. She's been brought in to be tough. I mean, this is in all the broadsheets. She's been brought in explicitly to be tougher than Cooper can, quote, get away with. That's the sort of quote people use. But so I totally agree with all that. There's the only caveat is her sort of background of constantly being at like really sort of very, I don't know if you'd say extreme, sort of very sort of identity politics, Muslim sort of rallies and stuff, and lots of quotes about it and stuff. So you can forgive people for in the larger picture saying, well, what does that?
Yeah, I mean, and it would also be fair to say that Patel was sold as a hardcore, and she was literally the Home Secretary when there was the most immigration of all time, and Braverman was sold as a hardcore. And I mean, in fairness to Braverman, she resigned on principle and so on, but she didn't really do anything to stop the rot either. So we've been through this merry-go-round at least twice already. And was Javid also the Home Secretary at one point as well?
Yeah.
I feel like Javid was too, and he did bugger all as well.
Mr. So what? Yeah, I suppose the question is exactly as I've tweeted already. What can she actually do different? And I suppose the answer is she'll probably do what Blunkett suggests: derogate from Article 3, which is built into the ECHR. You don't have to leave it; you can just derogate from certain articles. Yeah, that's what she'll try and do. Whether that does anything, I don't know.
It's a start. I mean, I saw just this morning, like even since she's been in, there's been 2,000 people across the channel. Like, who is doing this? Who's funding it? Who's organizing it? It can't be an accident. It's just there's too many people coming over on those boats.
It's never been an accident. No, the whole thing. I remember when it started in 2019. There's no way that just starts spontaneously. It's always been organized by there's a whole chain of people who just.
It went from 299 in 2018 to 45,000 in peak Boris time in 2022. And even this year now, it's been like 20 odd thousand including 2,000 in the past day. So
Kind of
is it,
feels like they
is
want
it Soros? Like, who's doing it?
I know. Sort of feels to the layman like they're trying to destroy the West. There's, by the way, I don't want to get really controversial. We should get on with it. But there was one worse tweet than that you did. But I don't know if you want to get into it because it's almost too controversial and
Go on.
and rude. I don't want to be rude by coming on a stream and saying
What was I even more than in those two tweets?
Oh, it's much worse. Yeah, but I don't know. But I thought maybe we should talk about it. But maybe
is it about Madonna? I can't.
No, it's about that poor. It's about that poor woman. And you were saying, and it was slop, and I wanted to.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. What I said was we shouldn't let Axe Girl be forgotten. I've not said that either of those things are slop. What I will say with but the recent thing is that I don't need to see it literally 1,000 times. I mean, some people have posted that video 20, 30 times. I won't watch it. I as a principle, I don't watch stuff like that anyway. But I mean, it's been relentless. So I don't say that slap. And as I said on your interview, on the interview with you, Nick, I like Axe Girl. I just don't want it to be forgotten or washed away, or for it to last as a symbol for like literally a week. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
For me, it's a plea. For me, it's a plea for Axe Girl to stay.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it adds to the same narrative rather than displaces it, you could say. And of course, people are going to be so shocked by this. They are bound to respond to it. They're not going to just say, well, what about Axe Girl? But I take your point about it appearing. I didn't even want to watch it. I'd already seen enough of the still and the original video, but then the much worse video. Yeah, I don't even recommend watching it because it started playing already on my feed. And then by the time suddenly I've watched it, and it's horrific. Yeah. And the photograph, the new picture constantly, you literally can't avoid it if you go on X. The new photo which is more horrific. So yeah, it is horrible. I agree on that point. All right, maybe I misunderstood what you said then. I thought it was you said it was American, it is. American it is displacing British causes.
It is generally part of my arc to try to distance myself from what I see as a completely retarded moment right now. Well, I don't want to be part of the retard energy, Nick. So I purposely distance myself from what's going on at the moment. I think that I don't know, the British right are having a moment right now. I don't want to be part of it. So as a sensible centrist, I keep it at barge pole length, and so too will you in about 5 days.
Well, you know what? But I wanted to bring it up because people might be thinking, what were those tweets? And I thought it'd be good for you to explain them, and then actually it's a good explanation. But can I offer one critique, which is, let's say that was you sort of wanted to avoid all those posts, and I sort of understand that, but could you say one of your big themes is the sort of lameness of the American empire and how American politics imposes upon our politics, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, it meets both of those. One, because Ukraine shouldn't have happened. That happened because you could say because of Biden's weakness, and then Trump claimed to stop it, and he didn't, which also ties into another one of your themes, Trump being all talk. So one, she shouldn't have even been there. Presumably, she came during the war, unless she came before, but I presume. Then two, it's the ultimate example in a way of American politics sort of subsuming. It's literally a European killed by an American due to America's particular problems with race and crime and so on. And so it's like it's a perfect example of that.
In a way, this is what Farage represents. It's just the complete, the total Americanization. You could see it happen by stages. You could say Thatcher was phase one, Blair phase two, bringing in the Supreme Court and so on, and Farage is the completion of it, literally turning our politics into kind of violence-based kind of like. Well, I said it's like kind of like reform is like ITV as a political party, and I don't like all this energy that's going on at the moment. What the actual political effect of it is to build up Farage and reform. He will leech off the energy and then disavow every single one of you. That's basically the net effect of it. So, the reason I've fallen out with people in the past few days is because we've been around this merry-go-round so many times before. It was only a year ago that Southport happened, and I remember distinctly, right? Katie Hopkins and Douglas Murray posted a list of dates. Right? Do you remember this? Maybe people don't remember this. They posted a list of given. Yeah, they posted a list of dates. Okay, all around the country, and I literally just told people, do not go to this. It's the most obvious trap I've ever seen. You have to be stupid to go. Various people who I won't name here, but I've fallen out with them. Fell out with them back then as well. We're egging people on to go, and I said, look, this is just obviously a trap. And then what happened is that they they had synchronized anti-racist marches all around the country, and it resulted in orchestrated, synchronized front pages. Right,
I
every
remember,
single
yeah.
newspaper ran. Right, do you remember that?
Yeah, I tweeted about it a lot. It was just,
I won't be lectured by the same people who fell for that again this year. They can fuck off. I mean, literally, if you're not going to learn from that and you're going to double down and say, "Oh, look, your takes age badly," no, they didn't actually. I completely call that correctly back then. And well, again, speak to me in 5 days and let's see where we are.
No,
So,
like
what
I
about
agree
you?
on reform. I mean, I said reform conference was the cringiest thing ever, and they're accepting some of the most mental Tories ahead of an inevitable lame merger. It might be time to stop following this crap and start that Man United fan channel. So I even wrote that because they took on Nadine Dorries. So it's completely absurd. I also said might switch to the SDP because they're serious and boring. No songs, no garish caps, just sensible suits and earnest debates about tariffs, laying the groundwork to win in 2075. These are all compliments, by the way. And William Clouston retweeted that, so he's got a sense of humor. So
also, I'll remind people, some people who posted those lists of dates actually got a knock on the door or got arrested. Don't recall Douglas Murray or Katie Hopkins being arrested for sharing
No,
those dates in
they
broad
were
daylight.
part of that op. They were part of that op. Like
Right.
whether they
So-
they fully realised it or not, they were given like those lists, obviously, and it was on a frigging Wednesday. Like all the other protests have been on Saturdays and Sundays, and that one was going to be on a Wednesday, and it was blatantly picked up by the media and all the anti-fascists and Hope Not Hate and stuff before it happened, and then what you said, like the coordinated response. Like there's no way Hopkins and Murray aren't aware at some level of what they're doing there. Proper
it was COVID level stuff. Those front pages all the same. That was just full on. That was ridiculous. That was like North Korea. That was like, I don't know whatever analogy you want to use. That was so absurd. Or the front page. We ended hate. It's like nothing happened. That was like.
I also think it's worth mentioning as well that, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I get this Tommy thing that's happening on the 13th in 3 days' time. I get a funny feeling about it. I mean, I saw that thing that was going around. They've told people in the army that they're not meant to go and so on. I just get that funny feeling.
Why is this one so significant? He's done rallies before. Like we all just mostly ignore it, don't we? I mean, you're right to say don't go to him. I think don't go to him as well. But we had one last year. We had one the year before. Like
this one's been hyped to the moon and back, though. This particular one
by the people organising it, or
by if you did this year we've had a series of events that seem to be leading up to, so that it's literally been hyped as a revolution is coming, right? The flag stuff, the flag energy fed into it, obviously Epping and things like that. So it's all been, and also just the villain that is Starmer. Linehan got arrested in the run up to it as well. So all of these things, there's kind of like a maelstrom and this civil war narrative in the air. I don't know. I feel like there's things afoot at the moment. There's things afoot, and you can either kind of go and stand right in the middle of it or not. But
with civic nationalism, there's always something afoot because that is basically a state project. Like even the people who aren't directly working for the state in that are loyal to the state. They see themselves as enforcers of the state ideology whilst pretending to be the opposite. Civic nationalism is entirely a top-down AstroTurf thing. And so it's always like every rally he does, everything he does, every distancing himself from the far right that he does, everything people like Adam Brooks do as well. Like all that is just, it's all just feeding back into compliance with the regime. Just with one tiny objection, we just object to this hotel or that attack on that woman, or but it's always get back into the pen. And so I don't think these things are being coordinated. The Graham Linehan thing's strange. Like that does seem like just deliberately throwing a win to the sort of soft left or something, strangely. But I don't think these things are all coordinated. I think that the system is rattling. It's just like it's poorly nailed down.
I'm not saying like this is being planned on a chessboard by some mastermind. I'm saying the net effect of it is, one, building up energy for this rally. God knows what's going to happen there. Hopefully nothing. Hopefully the best case scenario is nothing happens, the energy dissipates, and everybody goes back to watching football. But we'll see, okay? But the second net effect, the actual beneficiary of all of this energy, is Nigel Farage, who is a very snaky character because he feeds off all of your energy like a little vampire, but he also disavows it or keeps a distance from it as well. So he profits from it, but he also won't get involved with it as well. So he's very sneaky like that, Raj.
Yeah, because he's just a Tory. But I don't know if, I mean, like, does he really benefit? He benefits from just the sheer shitness of every other option, right? That's the only. How is anybody enthusiastic about this mealy-mouthed, feeble, flaccid prick now? Like,
it's incredible, isn't it, really?
Yeah, like,
the Tory thing is so incredible that they can take on any number of Tories. They've literally got Nadine Dorries, right, as well as Sarah Poachin, Jake Berry, Lee Anderson. It's like
Andrea Jenkins, as well, another
like
mental Boris supporter.
Yeah, and Andrea seems nice, but it's like people like, get rid of the Tories are traitors, vote reform. Like, you understand, it's literally the same people. I just think that's
right.
Like...
So then Dorries comes in, and like within a day or something, she's already calling for an alliance with the Tories, as Boris Johnson Tory, the worst traitor in our history, right?
Yeah.
Worse than everyone.
And then Zia has to disavow and say it's not policy and it will never happen.
That's curious, yeah, because I think Tice in the past has said there'll be no pact with Johnson or the Tories, and then Farage said it the other day, and Yusuf said it in very strong terms. It's not like ambiguous at all. I was really heartened to hear that. But like, why have they brought her in? So why
was Mogg there? Why was Gove there? I mean, come on, guys.
Conference.
Well, Gove can claim he's there as editor of Spectator. Mogg's kid converted to Reform. And he says my daughter has converted to Reform. She's tried to convince me, but will never work.
Come on, look at
what
Reform.
What are they doing, bringing her in, knowing
Reform
that she'll say that?
Is not, guys. Reform is not a real party. It's designed to be folded, right?
Yeah.
The Tories got the infrastructure. You look at the electoral map, it is basically a mathematical certainty that they're going to do some sort of dirty deal or merger down the line. The Boris stuff, okay, they can say, okay, well, Boris can't come in. But symbolically, what they're doing is they're getting you used to the idea that there's going to be Tories in Reform. That is
they're
what
also
is going to
already all Tories. Does that not bother anyone? Like, they are all... Nadine, okay, maybe she's not in it. She's sort of joined. I don't know what capacity she's joined it, but Jake Berry's literally in it. Lee Anderson, Sarah Poachin, Dame Andrew Jenkins, all just Tories. I mean, it's like Scooby-Doo level stuff. It's ridiculous. They've come back out as it is wrestling. They've come back out with a different. Now they're babyface, or now, I guess they've gone heel to baby.
Remember when Dusty Rhodes? They used to do this. They used to run this angle a lot. But it'd be like Dusty Rhodes has been exiled from the territory. He's not allowed to come back. And then like a week later, it'd be like blatantly Dusty Rhodes in a mask. And it'd be like, hey, it's the masked man. And everybody would know it was Dusty Rhodes, but he'd be wearing a mask. It's like they're doing that.
What's
basically.
That Donald Trump account? It's like Donaldo Trumpo or something. It's like that level.
Exactly.
Like it's like you're just the Tories again. And the colour's not even that different. It's like a slightly different hue. It's like one notch down on Canva. It's like, guys, how do you think we wouldn't notice this? But you've got all the cultists who will absolutely scream at you if you say anything bad about Reform. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. Anyway. So, yeah, I mean, I guess my positions recently is like, okay, we all know all of this. So why are you still being that useful idiot and drumming up energy for them? I mean, but basically at this moment, in this summer, all you're doing basically is giving Nigel free energy.
Who's doing that? By what? What do you mean by that? Like who's supporting? Who's feeding their energy into them?
Well, everybody egging on everything that's happening right now. Basically,
we'll sort of get to it later when we get to the bit about Vladimir Surkov.
Exactly, Surkov. Sorry, exactly, Simon.
It's all will be explained. I just have one question on this AA contrarian heel arc. I mean, because I'm not as into WWE, WWF as you guys are, but Vince obviously played him or a version of himself, didn't he, during the kind of the events? And did he do? No, get away. Did he do Vince McMahon as the villain for long periods, or was he mostly Vince loved by the audience?
No, but mostly Vince the villain.
It was mostly villain.
Almost all Vince the villain. Right. But the thing is that contrarian by like what standard? Contrarian if you're a Daily Mail reader.
Yeah.
Contrarian if you're a Daily Telegraph reform voter. I mean, what are people on about?
Yeah.
I've always had the same views.
Just apologise to the chat that I'm trying to bring back the sort of political banter show by stealth, but People have asked for it. People have been asking for it, but it's not really my intention. By the way, on a boring point, is Simon slightly louder than everyone? Or is that just for me? He sounded a bit louder. I had to turn him down versus everyone else. Can we check the levels?
Could just be a better microphone.
Is he louder than everyone?
No, I don't think so.
Have you got him? Have you adjusted the settings?
No. Edit mic settings. No, he's on automatic.
Yeah, literally.
Maybe he was just shouting with the passion of his point. Maybe
exactly.
I can't actually edit Horace's mic settings, and you're on automatic, Nick. So
okay, never mind.
Mine are
part of my contractual arrangement.
Oh well, apparently it's just me. No, apparently it might just be me.
All right, let us start then with.
If anything, Nick is a little loud.
Maybe the final part, or this could be the final part of hypernormalization.
There's about 45 minutes left to go, so if we don't break it up too much, we could get there.
Yeah, sit in silence. I've said this.
Yeah, reverent silence.
Okay, so to Nick the non-pauser. Horace, that after 1 second pause, who's your money on, chat? Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
By now, cyberspace had become even more sophisticated and responsive to human interaction. The online world was full of algorithms that could analyze and predict human behavior. The man behind much of this was a scientist called Judea Pearl. He was the godfather of modern artificial intelligence. Pearl's breakthrough had been to use what were called Bayesian belief networks. They were systems that could predict behavior even when the information was incomplete. But to make the system work, Pearl and others had imported a model of human beings drawn from economics. They created what were called rational agents, software that mimicked human beings, but in a very simplified form. The model assumed that the agent would always act rationally in order to get what it wanted, nothing more. One of the early utopians of cyberspace, Jaron Lanier, warned of the implications of this. The agent's model of what you are interested in will always be a cartoon model. And in return, you will see a cartoon version of the world through the agent's eyes. And, he added, it will never be clear who they are working for, you or someone else.
Pause.
Oh my gosh, the longest game of chicken of all time. Who is it? And it was still Horus.
I had people in the chat like trying to egg me on. Just say something. Doesn't that what he just said there describe LLMs as well? AI agents that we use now. Like that, it seemed like it can only really respond in a cartoon version world way. Cartoon version of the world. It can't actually be human. I don't believe they ever will. And also, is it really actually working for me? Can I really trust it? You know, we'll never know. And especially with people like that guy who runs ChatGPT, that company, OpenAI, Sam Altman, people like that. It's like, do I trust this guy?
Funny enough, I was thinking more of the social media algo, the YouTube feed, the Twitter feed, and so on. Because that also, I think, I mean, and this again goes into some of the stuff we were talking about before. Because I'm just watching people like disappear and become algo. If that makes any sense, and I don't think it's healthy. Like, okay, this video that's been doing the rounds now. Okay, I mean, we know everybody in these spaces has seen hundreds of awful videos like this. Okay, but the people who've been spamming it and posting it like literally 30 times, what are they actually doing? Like, what are they? I mean, are they getting some weird dark dopamine feedback loop where you get you're getting engagement, so it's exciting. But it's also like you're also spreading something that's really like not that nice for anybody to experience or watch. Like, I mean, this is a question I've had over and over again when it comes to these kind of online. This kind of online politics. I mean, it's a surrogate activity, as Uncle Ted would put it. But it's also like you're becoming part of the machine. Sorry, Simon, go on.
No, it's as you say, it's kind of a bit of all of that. Pearl worked on his work was called Probabilistic Reasoning in Intelligent Systems, and essentially it's kind of a formula to approximate human choice in the algorithm. So there's elements of his work that show how humans update their beliefs based on new evidence. So he factors that in. But as we know from looking at things like the recent AI, they don't always update their beliefs based on new evidence, or at least if they do it in this kind of apologetic, retroactive way once they've already given you what they want to. And this is something that comes from Pearl again, is what he did. Instead of it being like a real human agency, it tends to be normative. It tends to take you down a pathway. It doesn't describe how the human brain works. It tends to sort of shunt you in directions which, to be honest, is kind of perfectly suited to the commercial reality of the internet, of connectivity. And what the limitations of algorithmic models comes down to is who programs and defines the terms that are being translated into these probabilistic choice pathways. You always get this feeling that, especially the old example is something like Amazon, if you like that, you'll love this, and trying to sort of shunt you on to the next kind of commercial waypoint. So the incentive structure is defined by the kind of neoliberal realities underneath the internet. But as you say as well, AA, there's this element of reducing down the amount of information. Connections of information are getting lost, or you're getting misdirected to stuff. Especially as we were talking about, I think last week. Stuff has happened in the past, but the system doesn't remember it because its incentives are not programmed towards you as the agent in the system. It's programmed towards its incentives to take you on to this next kind of waypoint of consumption, let's say.
I mean, it's going to sound like a weird analogy, but I almost feel like the experience of going to the supermarket has gone like this, right? Now, when I go to the supermarket, almost every stage of the journey feels like I am working for the shop. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the self-checkout. It's, basically you end up doing everything yourself, right? And you're shunted through a system almost entirely designed for the shop's own benefit. As against the old way, where you'd have like some nice person helping to pack your bags and maybe even get somebody to carry those bags to the car once upon a time. You know what I mean? It was like a human experience, whereas now you are shunted through the machine.
Yeah.
And I think there's something dehumanizing about the whole LLM idea, etc.
And this is the thing about the hypernormalization of it, the fake reality that, as you say, does it actually reflect your reasoning process, the algorithm, or does it sort of cushion your reasoning process and redirect it? Because in the kind of commercial model that we're operating in, it creates a sort of simulation of who we are, and then, as I say, it nudges us towards the desired outcome, as you say, just in the retail landscape, and all of the kind of nudge kind of stuff comes into play there that we've heard about in commercial settings.
Have you noticed, by the way, they've made plastic bags worse? This was pointed out by my mother, right? Yeah. Since they've started charging for them, first of all, they were 15p, now they're 30p, if you go to Sainsbury's. And if you notice, the bottom used to be box shaped, so you get quite a lot in there. Now it's just sewn like once, so you can get less in there. So you have to buy more bags. So they made the bags less efficient.
And they made the Marks & Spencer bags way worse. They changed them to paper. But Sainsbury's as well, you have to go through, I don't know if you said it there, but you have to go through this degrading thing now. Instead of having the bags on the tills, which they used to, which is, of course, the logical place for them, you have to go and ask someone who's wandering around, some migrant wandering around the store somewhere, You have to ask them. This is in my local one anyway, for a bag. And so the whole thing is so deliberately terrible as an experience. It's meant to make you not have a bag, of course, because bags are evil and destroying the world. But the human experience of that is so miserable because it's so it's like the plastic caps being attached by the EU, and I get Buxton now, so that I don't have that. That's the most.
If you go to a slightly rougher, occasionally you go to a slightly rougher area. Sainsbury's in a rougher area, right? In some of those places now, you can't even get out without a receipt. Right, so and if you don't know that, you've left. You face the ignominy of not being able to get through the barrier, and then having to, shamefully walk back and get your receipt. They put your receipts. So I mean,
that's funny because they were trying to stop receipts because they're paper, but now crime is so bad they have to bring back their receipt.
I mean, talk about degrading. It's just, and my mother was saying that. She went to Iran earlier this year, and she spent the whole time just saying, like, whoa, everything, like, basically every aspect of life is nicer because they don't have all of that sort of stuff. They've still got people helping you on the checkout, people carrying it back to the car. You go and go and fill up your car. Somebody does the petrol for you. Somebody will actually wipe your screen and wash your windows down. So you get like service everywhere you go. Obviously, those are jobs for people everywhere you go as well. But of course, they've all been automated out in our current setup. All of these things existed in this country, by the way, once upon a time, and it's hard not to see it as decline. To be honest.
Yeah, and it's so anti-human. And the bag thing, just one more point in it as well. Obviously, I try and bring my own bag now because of the absolute misery of this. But if sometimes you don't have one, you have to go and find someone with a bag. Then you abandon your self-checkout till, and someone else tries to use it, and sometimes actually does start using it while you're looking for the bag. So you've got to kind of bagsy it and like put stuff almost on the weighing bit, like put stuff. So this is like, by the way, don't take my till when I go and get the bag. This system is so badly done now on purpose that I have to abandon my own station and lose. See what I mean? You run that risk every single time while you track down this person who's helping someone else miles away. I don't know. It makes me angry every time I go in. It's meant to.
I don't enjoy it at all. Every time I go, I end up being, feeling demoralized. And then on top of it, people are walking around in their pajamas, and it's just awful. Awful.
They're just Chinese people. Don't be prejudiced.
But they're not the ones in the pajamas. The ones in the pajamas now are like girls in their 20s and things like that, who for some reason think it's cool to just go out wearing pajamas. I don't know what that trend is about, but it's very like we've gone from people like walking around in suits and bowler hats to literally pajamas at this point.
Those women were not wearing bowler hats before. Well,
they weren't wearing their PJs in the 1950s, were they?
They were wearing bowler hats and pajamas. Yeah.
They were wearing.
I disagree with all of you. You all sound like old Doris is moaning about nothing. I think it's much better serving yourself, and I've never in a bag. I have a bag with me anyway. I carry a bag around with me. I just got into that.
Well, no,
but even if I have to call over to the woman, she's only like 2 meters away because it's in the bagging area. It's in the self-packing area. So
well, I don't know where you live.
She's
not there.
No, you made that up for colour, for flavour.
No, she's definitely not there. So I always went to the self-service anyway because I'm an introvert and I don't really want to talk to people. So I always went to self-service even when, and it was funny going to like Scotland, going to like the Edinburgh Festival, because when Scotland only just got these things way after London and people just wouldn't use them. So I'd just better walk up to anyone and go straight to it because they couldn't understand it. But they've made it so miserable now in my local one. They've made them all self-service, which is fine. I already used it. But the bag thing is absolutely miserable. There's someone wandering around miles away, incompetently serving someone. The other day, someone was scanning someone's items through a trolley. They got this self-scan thing now. But they were scanning individually everyone's items, an entire trolley for some reason. And that was the person I had to try and get the bag off. And you have to ask them for the bag, and they try to not give you the bag. You have to. It's an insane indignity every time, and you must see the inefficiency of it. If nothing else, the bag should be on the till, which is where they always were, and then they took them off the till. That became the rule. How can you claim that's better? I can understand the self-service argument. How can you claim
he's doing this as a free market ideologue, Nick? He's trying to defend the free market.
No, but that's not the free market. That's the climate. That's a climate initiative controlled imposition by the state. I don't know, or whoever decides these things. Klaus Schwab or someone.
No, you're right. I think we are in agreement here. I must just have a better Sainsbury's near me than yours. So it's just well run,
You're probably not in
or
a-
it's busy enough that it's worth them having someone just standing there with bags.
Well, are you in London?
Greater London.
So that's
yeah,
the
it
you're
does
not in,
help.
not in the absolute.
Well, while we're
Dystopia.
on this topic, I've been reminded of something as well, which was tragic, absolutely tragic. The day before my wedding, the second one to Mrs. AA, I had to go and buy tons of water because we didn't have enough water for all the tables. So I went and bought all the bottled water in the Sainsbury's, and because I was in a bit of a rush, and I said, "Look, I'm getting married tomorrow." They gave me a magic coin that goes in the trolley, and I've had that magic coin on my keyring, and it means that I never need a pound coin for any trolley. I've always got that. Well, recently somehow that keyring snapped, and I've lost the coin. I've lost my magic coin after like a decade. Gutted about it. Absolutely gutted.
It's like when you play. You're known for you play a lot of video games, don't you? You've played so many games. You're now like losing magic coins in real life that give you access.
Exactly. That was like my one kind of blessed life hack has been taken off me now, and I don't know how to get another one. Do I pretend I'm getting married again? Would that
You have
be like?
to
Would that
pass
be
a
like
riddle.
bad karma? Like how do you get another one of those coins? So there we are. All right, let's carry on.
New technology began to allow people to upload millions of images and videos into cyberspace. And the web, which up to that point had seemed like an abstract other world.
I had a really bad day that day. I'd lost my magic coin, and then I've had these pants for many years as well. That when pants, you've worn them so much they've literally got like the fabric is so worn that it's basically like it's basically a hole by that point. And on that same day I lost that coin, the missus threw those pants out in the bin, and like it already food had gone over it, so I couldn't even fish them out. So I lost my beloved 10-year-old pants and my coin on the same day.
I've got 3 or 4 of those coins that you can put on your keychain, and you can use them either for the trolley or the changing rooms at my gym, right? So if we meet up at any point, I'll give you 1 or even.
How'd you get them, Horace? Or is that secret?
At the gym. Occasionally someone leaves them in the changing room at the gym, and they're the same size as a pound, so they work on trolleys.
I've got a spare magic coin if you want one. Yeah.
Oh, it's like John Wick. Those coins. We've got a secret society of the trolley coins, John Wick style.
I mean, I only use a basket because I'm an atomized single individual who never even uses the trolley. So imagine that. That's a different kind of life. Can I forgot to say it before when we were discussing that horrible incident in the US. Peter Hitchens has said, "I wonder whether this person has ever taken any drugs." Just in case you worried he hadn't got that in.
Of course.
Well, we all have to look up to Peter Hitchens because it's going to be us in 10 years. So
it's you now.
No, I'm a massive Hitchens fan, but he always brings it back on that one point. He was a bit of a zealot.
Yeah. AA was never a communist.
Yeah,
he's going there now, doesn't he? He's the world's biggest Stalin apologist channel. So
began to look and feel like the real world.
No, not like that.
From videos of animals, personal moments of experience, extraordinary events, to horrific terror videos, more and more was uploaded.
Sorry to pause it again, but COVID, right, has basically like destroyed any video of people dancing forever for me. I just can't stand it. Even this video we're watching now, all I can think of is those nurses and all of that stuff, and it just irritates me no end now. Never, even this little scene here that we're watching.
I hate Curtis for putting this in, like the teenage girls dancing, sort of a little bit sexually as well, like a little bit like booty dancing, I just like, why use this fucking clip?
Something happened. There's something happened. Let's see.
Yeah, interestingly, there's a question about this actually that was put to the chief designer of Tesla back in 2016. He actually tweeted about this. He said, "I thought hypernormalization was an excellent piece of work, But can anyone explain the point of that girl dancing about? Her name is, by the way, is Miranda Duncan, and the video is called "People Dancing to the WAP." It's still on YouTube, 272,000 views, and somebody answers
all from this.
yeah. Somebody answers the question, says, surely because it encapsulates the ghastly mirror of banal internet or selfie culture in a succinct fashion.
Yes.
But like it doesn't. It's just like the girls themselves are pretty innocent. They're what, like 16, the oldest, or
no, they're probably
the
about
oldest
13,
one,
I'd say. But that's
yeah,
kind of the
right,
point.
really young.
But part of that
that's not
element is Go on.
No, go on.
Yeah, well, another response to that tweet thread says it was a young trio of girls dancing in a sexual manner for the world to see. It encapsulates the perversion of the internet.
Yeah, somehow Curtis manages to seem salacious to me using it. Oh, not salacious. I don't know, just like a poor
Ivan
choice.
Holder.
It's just like, I just don't want to see this on the screen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think he is making a point about trash
I guess
culture.
what Horace is making the point that Curtis has done the Guardian thing. Guardian loved doing this. Isn't it disgusting? The Sun run page 3, and then they do have like a picture of the Sun with page 3 on it, but you were doing it in a Guardian way, so you weren't really looking at it. So,
yeah, it's us doing it, so it's fine.
Yeah, something like
that. I don't know if the hip hopper in question, J Dash, is notable, but it's a song from 2007, so it's a long time ago.
It's not even talking over it.
This does explain though why that became such a big deal during COVID, the dancing nurses, because they were just doing this scaled up, weren't they?
Yeah, he's kind of making the point. He'll augment this later. There's a longer sequence where he takes just more trash culture and does a montage of it.
And in a strange, sad twist, the first terrorist beheading video that was posted online was that of Judea Pearl's own son, Daniel Pearl.
Oh.
He was a journalist for the Wall Street Journal and had been kidnapped by radical Islamists in Pakistan. They recorded what they said was his confession and then his killing.
My name is Daniel Pearl. I'm a Jewish American. I come from on my father's side, a family of Zionists. My father's Jewish.
Simon, he's not actually going to show it, is he?
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Oh, God.
No.
God.
Yeah. My mother's Jewish. I'm Jewish. Only now do I think about that some of the people in Guantanamo Bay must be in a similar situation.
This was a new world that the old systems of power found it very difficult to deal with. In the wake of the 9/11 attacks, the security agencies secretly collected data from millions of people online. One program was called Optic Nerve. It took stills from the webcam conversations of millions of people across the world, trying to spot terrorists planning another attack. The program did not discover a single terrorist, but it did discover something else. A top-secret assessment said, unfortunately, there are issues with undesirable images within the data. It would appear that a surprising number of people are using webcam conversations to show intimate parts of their body to the other person. Also, the fact that the software allows more than one person to view a webcam stream means that it appears to be being used to broadcast pornography.
Yeah, as with the internet, so with webcams, right? I mean, from the very start of the internet, like immediately people just start looking for sex and videos and pictures of people having sex, right? And posing. But the optic nerve thing, as far as I know, we have Edward Snowden to thank for knowing about that. I don't know if anyone exposed it before that. But when Edward Snowden did his thing in, 2012, something like that, he exposed that fact that he'd been shown it working and stuff. And yeah, you just see people like beating off and having it off and stuff. Like most of the time, that's what it captures, or just nothing, just a blank screen, or people having their dinner and stuff. But I just like that in that film. There's that Oliver Stone film, Snowden, where you see. I mean, it's fictionalized, obviously, but you see his reactions to it. But yeah, as far as I know, we have Edward Snowden to thank for exposing that and. I think he's a good man.
Yeah, this section is actually more or less a straight lift from a Guardian article in 2014 about optic nerve. Various interesting things in the article. I'll draw attention to this one section though. It says optic nerve was just one of a series of GCHQ efforts at biometric detection, whether for target recognition or general security. While the documents do not detail efforts on a wide scale as those against Yahoo users, there was a massive amount of data from Yahoo users, about 1.8 million accounts showing all sorts of activity. It says one presentation discusses with interest the potential and capabilities of the Xbox 360's Kinect camera, saying it generated fairly normal webcam traffic and was being evaluated as part of a wider program. Documents previously revealed in The Guardian showed the NSA were exploring the video capabilities of games consoles for surveillance purposes. Microsoft, the maker of Xbox, faced a privacy backlash last year when details emerged that the camera bundled with its new console, Xbox One, would be always on by default. Careful, gamers.
Interesting. Very interesting. And now Bill Gates wants to block out the sun. So I'm told. So.
Like Mr. Burns.
Is he allowed to just do that? Who owns the sun? I mean, surely that's like, you can't just take the decision to unilaterally block out the sun on behalf of the entire world.
To own the sun, you'd have to homestead it first, according to like Lockean property theory. So you have to like fence part of it off.
I've mixed my work, my labour with the sun rays.
Yes, so nobody owns it yet. There's been every attempt to homestead it has thus far failed. Except there was that, what's it called, film, that Danny Boyle film. Danny Boyle did a movie about people trying to fly into the sun or something. I never watched it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Sunrise
I think
or
it's called Sunshine or something, yeah.
Sunshine, yeah. I didn't watch it. Apparently it wasn't very good, but...
No.
Yeah. But they failed anyway.
But increasingly, people were using the internet in other ways, to present themselves as they wanted to be seen.
Well, I guess a video blog is about me. I don't really want to tell you where I live because you could stalk me.
Pause.
The web drew people in.
That girl is an early example of how the web was being used for kind of, if you like, active manipulative deception. She is a character on YouTube. Her ID is Lonely Girl 15. She actually turned out to be an actress called Jessica Lee Rose. And essentially what she set up was something that basically looked like, like the footage of the girls dancing, just more kind of trash content, a kind of weblog that she was doing. But what apparently it was a kind of a whole fictional scenario that was invented to draw people in to a sort of web-based soap opera. It revolved around a bunch of teenagers in LA and their connection with a special girl who, it says, makes them the target of a mysterious worldwide organization called The Order. Desperate to survive and barely able to outrun their powerful enemy, they travel across the country trying to find a way to save themselves and the lives of dozens of innocent girls threatened by The Order's so-called ceremony. So it starts as, ostensibly a real thing and eventually changes into a kind of an internet drama show. And she eventually got a lot of work as an actress, and she even worked for the UN, promoting a campaign for anti-poverty causes and stuff like that.
Are those videos still up, Simon, or have they been?
They are. I'll be linking to stuff so you can check out her channel and see. But again,
what a fascinating art project that was.
Yeah. For as soon as this stuff starts, it's lying.
I mean, I wonder how many of the video of the kind of innocuous ones where she's just dancing or like talking about her day, like. Can you imagine? It would be actually really quite interesting to do something like that.
I hate to be reductive, but I suspect the problem is women.
Yeah. 7.5 million views on that video, that first one.
Because it was mesmerizing. It was somewhere that you could explore and get lost in any way you wanted. But behind the screen, like in a two-way mirror, the simplified agents were watching and predicting and guiding your hand on the mouse.
Stop! I nearly threw my phone away. Stop. Stop. Pose.
Snap a selfie.
Can I just say that every time I've watched TV, normal TV, in the past, 10 years, but increasingly, like in the past 5 years, say this show or ITV or something, I feel like I'm transported to like an alternate universe, like a dystopian nightmare. I just can't get over. It's just like it's a level of vapid and a level of emptiness because I basically just stopped watching. I don't really watch TV anymore. So every time I see it, I'm just caught by it's like watching a nightmare. It's like watching, like, like in a sci-fi show where you see the TV on. Do you remember in Time Bandits, his parents are always watching TV?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. It's like that, but only it's in real life. I find it horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
I'm the same. If I ever see it, other than football, which I never really do, but if you ever do, I saw the news. Remember the news? I saw that a while ago, and it seemed bizarre. It looked insane. It looked completely different from how it used to. And it was sort of like a really low-level YouTube channel. It was like 10 bullet points you didn't know about the world. It was like you say, incredibly low-level, surreal. I'm always amazed anyone watches this stuff, but maybe they don't.
Literally era of slop. This is what's inaugurating it.
Yeah. And GB, people have sort of said to me, "What's the point of GB?" And and obviously, AA's been tweeting about it. But people now turn that on, and the boomers will kind of just watch that instead, which is it's maybe slightly better than just turning on BBC. But
that is how GB News got its audience, right? It's people who they're like people who want something vaguely patriotic, like sort of flaggish stuff, with Farage and Martin Daubney or whatever, and then it's like, but they're because they're the boomer generation, they insist on watching stuff on a TV in their living room together while having dinner and stuff, all day, and so it's like you can stay within the bounds but move towards your taste,
Yeah, and people always ask me about the adverts. They always say they still got the same ad, but I've literally never seen the adverts because I've only ever watched it on YouTube when I was about to go in to work to see what was going on. On YouTube, just quickly watching Farage or Michelle or something. And I've never really watched it, and I didn't even know what they were talking about. But apparently, there was sort of silly adverts. But yeah, you're right. They just want to stick it on. But at least with GB, I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but they'll stick on like Matt Goodman or something. They might see something not completely insane. Obviously, yes, it'll be limited and contained and so on. But you stick on the BBC, you're just like, it's just surreal insanity, like a complete bizarre world that obviously doesn't exist. GB's like, okay, yeah, we won't get really anyone on the right, or but we'll have a communist. All these problems with it, but you won't feel completely deranged watching it. Do you know what I mean? You might be like, this is Nick, limited.
Nick, is Dube still on?
Yeah. I mean, she's one of the sort of stalwarts, isn't she, of GB?
Was it Dubes and Co?
Mm-hmm.
I fell down a bit of a rabbit hole just because I couldn't believe she existed. I started watching. It's like she got like set like Dubes rants, and things like this. Kind of. You mates with her then?
Not mates with her. I've said hello to her like in the studio, which doesn't really talk. Most people at GB don't talk to me. It's quite funny because after our show ended, and I've gone in occasionally to do these one-off shows on the show that's replaced us. But mainly Paul's just, as I say, gobbling them all up. But I went in. And it was a funny reminder because no one said hello to me, like none of the staff ready. And I was like, oh yeah, this is what it was like. So it's kind of a weird, but it's not just me that said that. Lawrence Fox used to say that, like people like the makeup artists were very nice and all that kind of normal people, but the kind of media people are so weird, man.
I'm picturing Nick in an American style kind of high school TV drama. He comes in, his bag slumped over his shoulder in a hoodie. And he gets that little tray, right? And he's trying to find someone to sit next to sit. It's lunchtime. He's at the canteen. He's looking around. Everybody kind of turns away from him. So he ends up like sitting on his own next to like the one nerdy Chinese kid, something like that. Is that?
He's the Napoleon Dynamite of GB. Yeah.
But it's very much like that. But it's not just me. I said it to one of the makeup artists once. I was like, do people just never say hello to you? Is it just? She's like, yeah, thank you. And she was like, Thank me for saying it. Now, some people are all right, but like there's this weird culture of not saying hello, even if you say hello to someone else. And someone said to me, oh, yeah, I think it's a northern thing. I'm like, is it? You say hello to someone and they blank you. I'm like, it's not
northern at all.
No, it's like
weird, that's just weird behavior.
Yeah, I'm like, this is just, and that is just rampant there. And it's so insane and weird. And I'm like, and after a while, you give up even saying anything. So then you walk in silently. you don't say hello, and you just go and get on with your work. It's so weird.
Is Nige ever around? Does he kind of?
No, well, he used to be in the old studio. He was there in the office, and you just see him. You'd be just right next. Now that's like a big thing. Like he has to go with security everywhere, and he's the most famous man in Britain or whatever. But you used to be working right next to him. I only spoke to him once, and he was talking about if he was too old. He said he was too old to running it. This is when it looked. This is before he even came back to reform. And he goes, "Oh, I'd be too old," and blah blah blah. And I was saying, "You probably do it. You know, maybe now I've created a monster." But yeah, I spoke to him once, but then he moved studio to the Westminster one, which is actually an awful building, and we were in the other one. So after that, never really. I did go to his birthday though. Spoke to him there briefly, but that was like I wouldn't be invited now, obviously.
Having his lunch and things like that, because I've always been fascinated by this shot of Farage eating his sandwich. What this sandwich shot of it? Did he eat like that?
I never saw him eat, and
Full Miliband.
Yeah,
it's very Miliband like.
Yeah, I think you can just get a shot of someone eating badly, can't you? I think if you really want to, and you just click repeated shot, you must. Eating never looks amazing.
But Miliband did something weird, like he somehow made the bacon sandwich fall apart as he was trying to eat it. I think that was why.
Let's have a look at the famous Miliband sandwich shot. Hold on.
Same as the economy.
Miliband
it works.
Sandwich. Here we are. I think he's just. Oh my god!
He's a weird kind of ungainly sort of person.
He's a strange man, to be fair. So there are the many shots of Miliband eating the sandwich. He pulled that face for one.
That was weird because he'd never eaten it before. Was the claim, wasn't it?
Well, he'd never eaten bacon before.
Was that bullshit? I think that wasn't actually true, was it?
No, I don't know if that was true, but there was a sort of
underlying. You can get it as a mug. Look, you can get Miliband sandwich eating as a mug.
Obviously, yeah, it's true that nobody looks good eating. You don't want your photo taken when you're eating, but Miliband took it to another level.
Yeah.
My name is Sweetie. The men asked me to take off my clothes. They undress. They play with themselves. But what they don't know, I'm not real. I'm a computer model, made piece by piece to track down these men who do this.
That was dark. Bloody hell.
Yeah. That was back from 2013. I remember that happening. It was a sort of entrapment model that they were using.
Some moments in this film are like, I'm having to look around seeing that my neighbors watching me just watch this in the middle of the day. You know, it's like, it's dark, as you say, very weird.
This is Make Up with Mario and Kim Kardashian, 713,000 views, 2009.
He loves the juxtaposition, doesn't he, Curtis?
Oh, yeah.
How did Kardashian get famous in the first place? Was she just like an online influencer?
A sex tape with Ray, what's his name?
No, it was the Kardashians, wasn't it?
Before that,
both.
no.
It was both.
Was it Ray J? What's his name?
Bruce Jenner. Isn't that it?
Don't pretend you didn't type this in this morning, Simon. You know.
Absolutely.
Her dad was a top defense lawyer as well, right? Something called Mr. Kardashian.
Yeah,
was like
it is Ray
one
J.
of O.J. Simpson's lawyer, I think.
Exactly, he was involved with O.J.
Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner, had a show called he was part of the Kardashians, wasn't he? Bruce Jenner, is that?
Yeah, like her stepdad or something? Or?
That's how they were famous, I thought, the Kardashians.
Okay. So various routes, but
it was a weird example of sex tape, sort of what would you say, like crossover into being, you know, she obviously just like brazened it out and became a celebrity off the back of the viral tape that was online.
Hulk Hogan's daughter also have a sex tape. Maybe this was just a model that they all
Everyone
followed.
has a sex tape
because he had a show called Hogan's Knows Best.
Yeah.
And also there was a sex tape involving his daughter. But also there was a sex tape involving Hulk Hogan, which made him millions and millions of dollars. Because do you know the story of that?
Oh, Gorka was this?
Yeah, this was a guy basically was into cuckoldry. Asked Hogan to shag his wife and film it, and then in the lawsuit, he had to apologize to Hulk Hogan and give Hogan millions of dollars.
But that was his fantasy to do that.
As a result of this, it's kind of.
It wasn't like he asked the court to punish him and humiliate him.
Oh, crazy! Absolutely crazy. But you talk about the most cucked man on earth. Fucking hell.
No, sorry, I was kidding there. Do you know that's a thing in the sadomasochism world? Some people ask like a bondage mistress to post stuff about him, like exposing him as a little bitch or whatever.
Oh,
this is a thing. They'll pay a mistress to humiliate them publicly online and stuff.
Say what you want about
the guy actually got himself into a court case he knew he would lose to be humiliated.
Oh wow, that's next level.
No, I'm joking.
Say what you like about the Kim Kardashian sex tape. It's better than the Hulk Hogan one. That's all I'm going to say.
For the person asking in the chat, what the music was, it's The Vanishing American Family by Scuba Zed.
Sounds appropriate.
Yeah.
I think he means what the Chris Gard one is, at the start of Deepest Law.
Oh, sorry. Thought it was this.
No, you're not going to find that one on Shazam.
No.
As the intelligence systems online gathered ever more data, new forms of guidance began to emerge. Social media created filters, complex algorithms that looked at what individuals liked and then fed more of the same back to them. In the process, individuals began to move, without noticing, into bubbles that isolated them from enormous amounts of other information. They only heard and saw what they liked. And the news feeds increasingly excluded anything that might challenge people's pre-existing beliefs.
I remember. So this documentary came out in 2016, I think. That was a common thing to say for a few years before and around that time, was that the internet and social media has siloed us all, and we're all in our own echo chambers. We're not really interacting with anyone we disagree with. Would you guys? I mean, maybe that was true back 10 years ago or something. Would you say that's true now? Because I don't think that's the way it works. I think we're just sort of fed.
I know Elon Musk has played with the algo so that you see more people from the other side. But if you have a look at the data model, Twitter is still very red and very blue, depending on which side of the. So for example, that video that we were talking about. If you're a shitlib on Twitter, you probably haven't seen it as much as if you're on our side of things, because all of their people won't be sharing it over and over again. So, but they do complain. They do complain, leftists, that they see too much, Elon Musk and things. But then again, I complain that I see too much Elon Musk too. So
yeah, I think you see a lot more than you used to. And if you quote tweet one of that awful Zoe woman, you'll then see 16 million awful Zoe woman tweets every day. But Horace, I've always thought we can't be in an echo chamber on the non-normie side, because if you're a normie, you're in normie world. You can be in that world the whole time, like the lads in my football team or something. Some of them, no offense to them, but some very smart people. But you can't be if you're in the sort of any kind of, I don't want to say dissident, but any kind of questioning, slightly different world. How can you ever be in an echo chamber? Because you're forced to live in the normie world most of the time anyway, and see all this rubbish, even if you avoid it, right? Because it's everywhere. So you can never really be in an echo chamber.
I always thought it was a bullshit complaint about social media. Like, social media can be harmful, of course, or it can at least be like a channel for us to harm each other. But I never believed that the powers that be are siloing us, or that the system, just by accident is siloing us.
It's the algorithm.
I always wanted to be in an echo chamber. We used to call it a high trust society.
I don't think that we only. I mean, as you were saying a second ago, we were constantly exposed to the real world. We don't have a choice of being siloed off. We're constantly exposed to not only reality but other people's opinions and everything.
I would say there are pockets of the internet or communities of the internet who, I mean, you could say they've siloed themselves, but there are people who live in a completely alternate reality. I mean, the whole queue. I mean, there were people who still believed that Donald Trump was the president, 2 years into Biden's presidency and stuff like that. I mean, those people were living in a completely alternative reality, and they blocked out anything that didn't go along with that. I mean,
designed to do that.
I don't know if you're still mates with Dellingpole, Simon, but I mean, I don't know what reality he lives in now. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the sort of conspiracy sphere is self-selectingly, in a kind of silo, and it has a kind of a contrarian sort of operating mechanism, which is like a reflex. But there's, as you say, there's other areas of twisted. Like, I mean, I think you've got a pretty broad group of people. You're following people from the left and all over the shop. I mean, I don't, for instance, see anything intersecting on my feed from, say, Black Twitter. Yeah, which is a thing.
Yeah, I don't see Black Twitter. Very rarely.
We can't see it. They make it so whites can't see it.
Yeah, it comes up as a subject of someone else's tweet saying, "Look at this as what's going on Black Twitter," but you don't get a sort of organic sense of interaction with that.
I tell you, right? I mean, Nick, you've probably experienced this more than most, but if you ever have a mega tweet. Right. I'm not talking about one that does a couple of thousand likes. I'm talking about one that goes into the 10s and 20s, 30s, a mega tweet where there's a moment where you burst through the event horizon. Okay. And you go through the layers of political Twitter and you break through into like rank normie Twitter. And I've only had a couple of tweets that have done that in my time. But when you get there, it, because you start seeing like whole communities you didn't even know existed, just outside of just political Twitter in general, right? Even beyond the leftists, there are whole realms out there.
When a tweet gets big enough, I don't check all the stuff on it, but yeah, I guess you're talking about things like your woman tweet about the anecdotal evidence. You just
I've had a few that have gone, mega kind of 20, 30,000, and also the one where I took a picture of the moon, and it was like,
oh yeah, you said you'd never seen the moon.
I'd never seen the moon at this time. It was like 12 p.m. I mean, that went around the world, and I was like, fucking hell, these are again parts that you never even knew existed.
It's funny that's your greatest moment, that tweet. All these books,
or maybe the Indian yoga YouTube thing that you had as well.
Oh god, that was.
You know what?
That was. Yeah.
I have to say, I'm not trying to be boastful. My biggest one just seemed to be liked by everyone. It was about that Ricky Jones. Remember the woman laughing next to Ricky Jones when he said the thing he said about what people should do? Oh yeah, I found it. I said. Yup, that's me. You're probably wondering how I end up smiling and clapping at the idea of my own people's throats being cut. And it was a zoom in on that woman. And it got 1.5 million, 37,000 likes, 1.5 million views. But I think everyone just thought it was a great tweet, to be honest. But I know what you mean.
My best one was like that, a picture and a caption. Like my first ever semi-viral tweet was back nearly 10 years ago now. But I just did a picture with a great caption, and it travelled way, way beyond anyone I'd ever met or encountered. I started getting loads of Nazis following me and stuff. It was really funny. I was like Otto Skorzeny following me and stuff.
I had a strange experience recently because I basically summarised this article I'd read on Graham Linehan, and for some, I don't know, it was because of the way I word it or whatever, but I got dogpiled by TERFs, and I think they just assumed that I was like a woke left, a woke pro-trans left, and it was incredible because I was just getting like hundreds and hundreds of these rabid
menopausal women. One of the worst dogpiles you can have.
Bloody hell, what the hell's this? Oh, he was doing it to protect women. Don't you know? Don't you have a mother? Don't you have? I was like, Jesus Christ! And all I said in the tweet was, unlike J.K. Rowling, who's got like a reason, she's a woman, and unlike Musk, whose kid is trans, there's no obvious personal connection for Linehan to be all in on the trans, because he's basically given everything up to go all in on trans activism, right? Usually when somebody does that, there's a reason, right? I mean, even like, when women get involved in anti-abuse stuff, you go into it and they've probably had some sort of there's usually a personal reason that people go into something. Whereas with Linehan, there's no like he's just standing for the truth or whatever, you know. So it's kind of which is rare. It's actually unusual.
I asked him that on the podcast I did with him, and he said it was you just didn't know what he'd be able to tell his daughter in the future was what he told me. But it is. I've accidentally riled the trans side and been threatened with legal action and stuff, but because of something Graham said actually. But maybe I shouldn't go back into that. But so it is very real for him, and it is a real and very nasty. Well, I know you weren't saying that.
No, so I say I was like, because they just assumed that I was like a trans activist. I was like, no, I would if I actually explain where I was coming from, they'd probably be going more crazy. But
it sort of reinforces the point about siloing, doesn't it? Because Twitter or the internet in general has a problem with contextual tone. You know, i.e., sort of the background to what how you're framing your tweet and the ironic or playful tone that you might be taking. You know, that simply doesn't get engaged with.
Set up for a set of argument. Kind of interesting though. One thing I did note is that that is very much become like a very much left on left violence thing.
Yeah,
like the trans debate, TERF versus trans, plays out entirely within what you might call a liberal framework. There is no
exactly, and the people within that have
wingery in it at all. You know,
and the people within that have no theory of mind of anyone else on the internet.
So they're locked into that as the battle. Yeah.
What's quite interesting, they'll sometimes go at one of their sort of greatest advocates, like Andrew Doyle, and Andrew takes this very badly because he's sort of advocated for him so much. But they'll sometimes go at him and call him homophobic slurs and go really hard. So the TERFs can, or certain segments of them can go at anyone because they are just total militant feminists. And so it's always been, and this is perhaps a banal point, but it's always been a very temporary alliance between the right and them because, you know, people like Rowling basically a shit libs on every single other issue. And it'd be interesting to see if they can get realistic about other matters other than just, I think I've seen Kelly J. Keane show signs of this, you know, migration and things like this. This is why I've said if J.K. Rowling got, you know, harassed on the tube by a migrant, the boats would end tomorrow because she's so effective, but she'll never will, because she'll never be on public transport, but because she's too rich. But can they show that same realism on other issues? Will be interesting to see. Some of them might be able to, but some of them want to say, "Oh, it's obviously a man. What are you doing?" But then they want to pretend on other issues.
What's interesting though is that the issue is seen exclusively in terms of women's safety because it's led by TERFs. Whereas to me, like, the trans issue is not like, okay, women's safety is part of it. You don't want, you know.
Yes, but what is real? What is true?
But also, like, if you're talking about like a young man who's kind of been brainwashed or whatever into becoming a woman, I'm thinking like the harm done on that kid. But that's not like the focus for them is all in on just like, yeah, you don't want pervs in the bathroom type thing.
And
no,
what it
which
means
is obviously a valid concern.
well.
It's just
what it means. Just what it means for the whole of society as well. It's not. Yeah, I agree with you. It's also what it means for the men who've been convinced to do that, and it's also the rest of us are like being told to deny reality or to speak falsehoods. Right?
There's also
ridiculous.
Yeah, that is and that's why I won't say things like Rishi Sunak's English. And I've said it's the same thing. Like can we stay in reality? It's like no, polite lies on this one, but not on this one. But there's also another one, which is a lot of the gay men who are sort of on the TERF side are very concerned about gay boys being told that they're actually women, actually they're gay, so they feel like they're sort of being erased. So that's also another angle, which is slightly different. It's which isn't always about women's safety. That's about. So anyway.
But some of the replies I had to that were insane. I mean, there was one person, right? And bear in mind now, all I said was it's a little bit unusual that Linehan's all in on this when he has no like direct personal reason to. And I was like, yeah, you're one of those people who, if you were in Nazi Germany, you would have turned a blind eye and you would have, you know, blah, blah, blah. I was like, bloody hell. I mean, Jesus. Like the level of anger that was coming.
AA is offended. He's like, I'd have been running things. What are you talking about? Blind eye? I'd have been high up.
After we've done Curtis, there's a potential Deepest Law episode. There's a documentary called Angry Women from about 15, 20 years ago. and it shows the origins of TERFs before they were called TERFs. They were just, radical feminists who lived in lesbo communes and stuff. Just might be a good one to cover. Sorry, Simon, go on.
I know. I was just going to say, I think one of the things about Linehan being kind of so fulsome in his condemnation of the transgender is that it is kind of, I feel it is a little bit like him kind of flooding the zone with that material. So he doesn't kind of have to deal with anything else that's going on. He sort of manages to kind of steer clear of anything else, because I suspect he is kind of a left liberal and he wants to go back to, his version of Fresh Prince, etc. When he was kind of accepted by his comedy buddies.
I don't know about that, because I've seen him I've seen him go into other matters as well and question them. I mean, he's done Ed Dutton's podcast as well. Like he's sort of gone into that world. He
feels uncomfortable though when he does it, though. It seems to me.
I think he's beyond the point where he thinks he can go back. I mean, he may have at one point wanted to. He's definitely got obsessed with it, though. I mean, he's definitely got obsessed.
Well, I described it as monomaniacal because I think that is a correct use of the term.
I agree with you, Simon, though. Like, if not Linehan specifically, the anti-woke thing in general has always had that about it, right? Like, we want to get back to the way things were before the wokies made things crazy.
Yeah. The thing is, with all these things, they're self-perpetuating, aren't they? Once you cancel someone, it's like, oh, now he's divorced, now he's lost father. What's he going to do? Like, say, oh, yeah, you guys were right. No, because he's going to double down and hate you even more, obviously. That's the thing with any cancelled person. They only get, it's perhaps a banal point, but they get pushed further and further out on anything, don't they?
This is the thing I didn't get, because I read the article and they were like, oh, yeah, he was married, he was doing it for his wife and so on. And I was like, this article says he was divorced literally because of this. So, like, did he really do it? I mean, I don't really understand. I don't really understand the whole thing. But anyway, let's carry on. It's alright. I know my own life is coming. It was an interesting moment, though, because I was told, you don't care about children. There's a genocide of children going on, I was told by one of these TERFs.
Lol.
And I said, well, how come he supports Israel then? That was a very interesting moment in that conversation, because then I got about 50. Then I got about a 15 Hasbro tweets after that. So that was an interesting moment.
You're a Hamas supporter, right? And then you're immediately a Hamas supporter, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Was this song playing right now? Is this a Radiohead song, Simon?
No, sorry, this is the one, The Vanishing American Family by Scuba Z, that I thought the guy was asking about in the chat.
Who are the TERFs then? Because there's Posey Parker. Harrington is a TERF, isn't she? She's a kind of...
It's all feminists who aren't pro-trans. It's any feminist who's not pro-tranny.
There's
Julie Bindle, people.
Maya Forstater, Helen thingy, Joyce, is it?
What does it stand for? Trans exclusionary radical feminist. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So it's just a term created by the trans side.
Not Helen.
That's what it is.
I guess.
But the people who are called TERFs took it on maybe as they took it on as a badge, but it was just it was supposed to be an insulting name. It's supposed to say you're anti-trans, therefore you're a piece of shit.
It is Helen Joyce, yeah. Helen Joyce, Maya Forstater, J.K. Rowling. They're the Kelly J. They're the main ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
I see. Okay. No, they're not radical because they're excluding trans. They are radical feminists who are trans exclusionary, but they're still radical feminists in all other respects. Is the idea, I think. Yeah. I got plenty of stuff about like, oh, wasn't it terrible when women didn't have any rights and all this sort of stuff. And I just chose to stay silent.
I feel like Kelly J. Keen is maybe one who's actually moved on other issues and actually looks at stuff. But yeah, most of them remain just hardcore feminist liberals. Got to watch out for these liberals. Go on.
and like anti-male as well. Like, I mean, these were the
That's
people
what I mean.
they wanted to separate from men or kill all the men in the world. Like they really believed you could separate the world along the sexes.
That's why it's always been a strange irony that I've defended these people a lot on GB News. Because of course, you shouldn't be in a women's change room or in a women's sport, and you shouldn't do this to children. It's obvious. But then, of course, I've always said the misogynists are their biggest friends, because it's like the people, obviously it's the lefties that have been pushing this. It's not it's not conservative misogynists, is it? But then it's obviously a temporary alliance on this one issue.
Oh, the other famous TERF is obviously J.K. Rowling as well, right?
I said that in the list.
But even though she doesn't really fit the radical bit, but she's a TEF. She's a feminist who's annoyed at the wacky people making feminism look bad.
I occasionally see one of them quote me and say things like, despite its past misogyny, he is still quite an interesting thinker, but they always caveat it as past misogyny, which I think is just that one tweet I made about the average height.
What about your present misogyny?
Well, I mean, I'm not. I love all women, Nick. I love all women, as you know.
Same.
Especially Orange, who I miss dearly.
Oh yeah, I have takes on that, but we don't have time. I disagree with your Ange take a little bit, but we don't have time.
The version of cyberspace that was rising up seemed to be very much like William Gibson's original vision. That behind the superficial freedoms of the web were a few giant corporations with opaque systems that controlled what people saw and shaped what they thought. And what was even more mysterious was how they made their decisions about what you should like and what should be hidden from you. But then, the other utopian vision of cyberspace re-emerged. After the financial crash of 2008, the politicians saved the banks. But they did practically nothing about the massive corruption that was revealed in its wake. And the reason they gave was that it might destabilise the system. Public anger burst out. The Occupy movement took over Wall Street, and then the Senate in Washington.
The issue is that certain individuals that are very wealthy have pretty much corrupted our political system, and this is like the hard.
If you read my speech tuning out the clown show that I gave last year, there's a whole bit about how Occupy was subverted and turned clownish there on the ground back in 2012, 2013. So all these games that we talk about that they play with the right, they do it on the left as well. They stuck a clown nose on Occupy, subverted it. Changed the original organisers, all sorts of things.
Can we still see that speech? Is that online? Or?
Yeah, it's on Forbidden Text Substack. It's called Tuning Out the Clown Show. There's only like one paragraph in there about Occupy, but it's worth it.
Sorry, it's an article, right? Okay.
It's an article that you can read.
I would like to read that. Like, do you imply that they weren't cringeworthy before they were subverted?
Basically, they were serious and organised, and they were made less serious and less well organised after they stuck the clown nose on it. Which is not to say they weren't clownish to start with. They kind of were, but
they were, yeah.
Yeah. Just to sorry, you go, Nick. You go.
No, I was only going to say I remember a similar thing on the anti-war march, which I guess was kind of a lefty thing. Back in the day, the old anti-Iraq war march was very much taken over by this thing of no war without a second UN resolution, but no one on the actual war march cared about the UN resolution. That was it had been hijacked.
I'd love it if the resolution was passed during the march and they all suddenly just chucked down their placards and put
that's
up
all
new
we
ones.
wanted. I know. It was so absurd, but it got hijacked. And people like Charles Kennedy and the sort of general, more mainstream people. So, but has there ever been one that I would question that you would say hasn't had a clown nose put on it? That would be my question.
Oh, plenty, but that's when the truncheons tend to come out. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Curtis speaking on the Occupy movement. Just to be clear, he was quoted in New Statesman in 2014. The footage we're seeing was from 2011 protesters on the Brooklyn Bridge. He said, "The Occupy movement absolutely astonished me. They had a brilliant slogan, the 99 and 1%. That was the first time I thought, someone's got it. But then they completely blew it. I went to their meetings and they have been completely captivated by this pseudo-managerial theory of a new kind of democracy where there are no leaders and everyone sits around gesticulating if they disagree. It was one of the most absurd ideas in modern politics. If you're dealing with questions of power, you have to understand power, and you can't pretend it doesn't exist, either on your side or their side. The point about managerialism is it pretends power doesn't exist. It's a way of keeping you in your place. For them to buy into that was one of the most cosmically stupid ideas I've ever heard of in my life. If you want to change the world, you have to deal with questions of power, the power of the ones who don't want you to change it, and the power of those assembled on your side who do want to change it. Humans are humans, and power is a really complicated thing, and you can't ignore it. And by ignoring it, they let everything go. So now there is a vacuum, an absolute vacuum. We have alternative comedians telling us everything is shit. Well, that's nothing. I knew that.
Brilliant.
That could
great
have been
passage,
straight out of Nichols or Pareto, couldn't it? Do you guys remember Occupy happening at the time? This was what, 2012, was it?
Yeah, that was kind of when it reached the news for
2011.
things.
2011.
Yeah.
There was a sort of a smaller thing. There was Occupy London at St Paul's Cathedral, obviously, and there was like Occupy Oakland and other cities in America, and there was attempts, in other countries as well. My impression at the time, which nothing has changed, was this is just commies. This is like very red. This is a call for socialism. It was a good slogan, the 99, the 1%, whatever. That's quite effective. It cuts through. But I mean, I listened to what they were saying. I spoke to some of the people, and spoke to people who supported them. And I mean, one of the main speakers at the London one was David Harvey, who's a Trotskyist. That was just, it was, I was reading bits of The Guardian at the time. They supported it. I was reading right-wing media. They were against it. It was a lefty socialist thing, right? One of the people who I know was one of the organisers of New York Occupy was Mark Bray, the author of Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook, who specifically advocates, terrorism against any white people who try and organise. He was like a leading. I mean, whatever it means to be an organiser at Occupy probably means just going around trying to tell people what to do, I guess, trying to get them to click their fingers in approval or whatever. But it was led, as far as I know, by people like that, like the extreme left, the anti-white extreme left. And there's been built up a narrative in the 10 years, in the last sort of 10 years that I think may be inspired by this program. I don't know, like this documentary, but the idea that Occupy was a good thing was in danger of overthrowing Wall Street. Sorry, I got a siren. I'm sorry about the road I live on. But that it was like diverted into identity politics. So they're hitting on something true there. I agree with what you say, AA, that a clown nose was put on it. Ludicrous people were sent in to talk about irrelevant things and start arguments and stuff. We see that in all sorts. Yeah, that comes from the state, obviously. But there's this other narrative of it that has some purchase on the right as well as on the left that Occupy was about to crack the system open or something. And that was just sent off down this dead end by people talking about race and gender and all this stuff. I think that's complete nonsense. I think this thing was a fairly long flash in the pan. They stayed out there for like 2 weeks or something rather than 2 days.
Curtis's view, he says they brought into a naive idea of democracy. They confused process with ideas. It's as simple as that. They thought that if you have a managerial process, they thought if you have a managerial process, you and I and 10 other people sit around, out of that will come an idea. It doesn't. That's a process.
I think one of the thinkers who inspired this movement was Antonio Negri, wasn't it? That Negri and Hart, that whole book empire that I mentioned before. I'm pretty sure that they were in on all. It was them. It was that faction of the left that did this, and that idea of democracy that Curtis is talking about actually comes from Negri and Hart, I believe.
And am I right in thinking they're the sort of Marxists, but they're like autonomist communists or something? They're autonomist anarchists. That's an Italian strain of anarcho-communism. And I believe, I mean, they were popular thinkers of the what was the name of this? Like the anti-globalism. I mean, left-wing anti-globalization demos that happened.
I mean,
sort of 10 years before, you know. Like.
At one point, Negri was much more hardcore. I think he was a student of a guy called Poulantzas, I think it's something like that, who actually advocated direct action back in the 70s, which is, basically like, that, in Fight Club, when they smash up all the stores and start taking direct action. I'm pretty sure that was inspired by the works of this Nicholas Poulantzas. And I'm pretty sure Negri came out of that kind of socialism and was a lot more radical earlier on. And his work with Hart is kind of more cucked.
Yeah. And they became more academic.
His work with Hart is more cucked. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, but yeah. So, do you guys remember that, like, for up until about this time, or maybe a bit earlier, like through the 90s and the 2000s, there was places like Genoa, Washington City, Seattle. There was these big confrontations, like thousands and thousands of anarchist black bloc types came from all over around the world sometimes to these, where like the G8 was meeting, or the World Trade Organization or something, and they would try and demonstrate against, globalist, or they called it globalization. That was the term, but they meant like, globalized capitalism. And it was these quite violent, often like mass ranks of riot police as well. It was really serious.
Yeah. There's a big one in 2001 in London, May Day protests.
Oxford
Circus.
Then the police started. Yeah, and then the police started kettling everyone after that.
Yeah.
So that there was a sort of, the same people were traveling through all of those. That Occupy was a new name, but a lot of the same people as those. It was like real far left stuff,
If you actually read them though, what they're saying is that their basic thesis, if I can remember correctly, is that the UN was a great idea, and the human rights regime was a great idea.
Right.
The trouble is that America and the American empire as a presence perverts it and basically creates too many Schmittian exceptions for Israel, for one, but also just like for American power in general.
And its own exporting companies. Yeah.
That takes us away from the actual ideals of the UN. But these mechanisms that have been set up could actually be, like the World Bank, the IMF, and so on. They could actually be used for good if only the American power bit was taken out of it. That's basically the idea of empire. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually an endorsement of the global governance institutions that America founded for its own power, and like Rockefeller power. Yeah.
Sorry. I was just going to say one last bit of Curtis on that. The autonomists. He says in an article, the other thing, he's talking about what crippled Occupy, he said, is the fear of big stories. And we live in a time that was born out of horror and disaster created by great sweeping narratives, both Soviet communism and fascism. That experience deeply frightened the generation that came out of the Second World War. And the world they created from the 1950s onwards was a response to that, to try and build a world free of big stories, where instead individuals would live peacefully and happily in their own stories, their own dreams. That was an extraordinary achievement, but one of the things I'm arguing in the films is that the world is now decaying. And instead of confident, empowered individuals, you now have a world of anxious and uncertain individuals who are terrified of the future and live in a mood of inevitability.
What does he mean by the last bit? Who's he referring to there, that last bit?
Us, people. Individualism, Burma Truth regime, navel-gazing, narcissistic populations.
The thing about about avoiding meta narratives, that is definitely a reaction against both like Stalin and Hitler. That is that I was taught that at A-level politics was like we sort of liberal Democrats, referring to the whole sort of allowable political spectrum in the West. We all agree that meta narratives are dangerous, like grand visions, big ideas, and big attempts to change things. Like that leads to the gulags and the camps. That's I was taught that as sort of a centrist view in the post-war world.
Yeah, that's what he's addressing. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Hopefully, we're going to get to Putin now.
The Senate building, these people have been bought off, and they basically corrupted our democracy, and it's literally killing people. I'm an Iraqi war vet. I went to Iraq in 2009 to see what happens firsthand when we let corruption rule our government and our democracy, and we're coming here today basically just to raise awareness.
What drove the Occupy movement was the original dream of the internet that people like John Perry Barlow had outlined in the early 1990s. In his declaration of the independence of cyberspace, Barlow had described a new world, free of politics and the old hierarchies of power. A space where people connected together as equals in a network and built a new society without leaders. Now, the Occupy movement set out to build that kind of society in the real world. The camps were to be the models. All the meetings used the idea of the human microphone. People throughout the crowd repeated a speaker's words so everyone could hear them.
We are now going to vote on whether to stay here for the next 2 hours or leave now.
But if someone wanted to challenge the speaker, the human amplifiers also had to repeat their words. So their voice had equal power.
What she said, what she said, what's that, what's that, the proposal.
Each person was an autonomous individual who expressed what they...
Can you imagine being there? Oh my God. Oh my
Imagine
God.
the smell.
It's an absolute nightmare place to be.
Literally life of Brian.
But together, they became components in a network that organised itself through the feedback of information around the system. You could organise people without the exercise of power.
Tell you what, like the elite theorists watching this, can you imagine? You need an organised minority, guys. Otherwise, there is no leadership. you cannot do this. It's just ridiculous.
We are the 99%, and we're completely incapable.
Fighters in Egypt. Ramatadua, Main Street. Looks like chaos. Looks like police is running around and a few hundred people walking down the street.
Pause.
Then, almost immediately, the Arab Spring began.
Just on that image, I mean, if you can remember back to when we did Century of the Self, you had the clip of the big sort of installation at the 1939 World Fair called Democracy, and you had this vision of, you know, modernity, all this sleekly shaped, you know, machinic action, all of these vehicles moving kind of on perfectly ordered tram lines, these vast sort of cityscapes of movement and purpose. And instead, the reality of the attempt to bring democracy is this. It's this, you've got on the one side of the road gridlock, and then on the other side, you've got the disorganized mass who are under the illusion that, you know, communicative connection equals an effective political instrument. And the interesting bit about this footage, you see at the bottom of the screen, there's a dark clump of people. That's the police, smaller group, but they're about to come in. They're just like coordinating, like a bit like a murmuration of birds. And they're going to come in and sort of cut this group off. And it's an interesting exercise when you look at, if people remember those videos that Bukele did when he locked up all those MS-13 guys, and they did the videos in a kind of, you know, like drone fashion with hovering over the top of big events as they happen, you know, taking a kind of God's eye view. And I would just say to people, think about taking a God's eye view of these protests that are coming up on Saturday, what it's going to look like from a camera in the sky. A group of people are going to come in, stand around, they're going to be shunted around the police, and then they're going to go home. That's all.
Yeah. You can never get away from Moscow's law, the organized minority. Just can't get away from it. Also, we're on the subject of the Arab Spring, so I might as well bring it up now. These weren't truly organic, were they? We covered this before. I can't remember. What was the documentary we covered this on? Well, we looked at the Arab Springs. Was it the previous doc, Bitter Lake? Was it?
Oh,
I don't remember.
I can't remember now.
We've definitely gone over the Arab Spring stuff before, so
yeah. I mean, he's going to explain that the guy who's going to be interviewed in a minute, Wael Ghonim, was a Google engineer who set up a Facebook page with another chap. I might as well mention him now. The other chap who isn't in this documentary was a guy called Abdul Rahman Mansour, and he sort of helped set up the Facebook pages that these movements were kind of about people who'd been killed in protests. One guy was called Khalid Saeed, and they started a page called "We Are All Khalid Saeed," and loads of people came along. I mean, you remember we were all Charlie Hebdo now and all that kind of stuff. But this guy Mansour, he was a Bachelor of Arts in journalism and broadcasting. He went to the US later on, and he was a blogger, and he did these kinds of activist blogs. One of the things that's interesting about him, though, is he was awarded a prize by the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. It was a sort of which poses as a non-partisan think tank, and I think when I asked AI about it, it said while it has no direct affiliation with the CIA, its leadership and staff often come from backgrounds in government, including the CIA. So
Carnegie's like the Ford Foundation.
Literally one of the guys who was a director was then became the director of the CIA, and various people. So I mean, I just did searches on Carnegie Endowment and CIA, and of course all the results come back saying there's no connection at all. But if you look at the personnel and you look at the kind of projects that they're involved in, I'm just saying there's circumstantial evidence.
Just wanted to call back to what you said a minute ago, Simon, about the protest coming up on the 13th, and try and take a drone's eye view of it or whatever. Yeah. I agree, and it all makes a lot more sense when you do that. Like you'll see formations of TSG or whatever, But I remember two of my friends went to those May Day protests in, I think it was 2001. I think that was the most.
Yeah,
or maybe
I was there. Yeah,
it was 2001. Maybe that was the one where there was some violence and
Oxford Circus. It's where the police started kettling, and I was there just with a camera taking pictures. They kettled us in for about 8 hours. Very nasty experience.
Well, yeah. So my mates, I think they might have gone the next year because that year looked fun, and they went the next year and they just got kettled at the start of the day, and they were just kettled all day. But I just remember hearing them telling me that, like, yeah, we went up there and we just sat at a bus stop inside the kettle all day and then went home. That was it. I was like, that sounds shit. And I remember seeing TV footage of it from above. Must have been from a helicopter or from a building. And I just thought, that is protesting. That is what it is. Almost every protest, or every single one, it ends up the way the police want, or the Home Secretary wants. Like they don't let you win by protesting. Now I don't know what that means for the Arab Spring and stuff, but I learned something like well back then. Just don't bother with this stuff. It just doesn't do anything. It might rally people psychologically or something. Maybe that's good, but I just remember thinking, yeah, like protest is not what it seems to be. It's not a genuine, spontaneous assembly of free people. It's what you're allowed to do, and yeah, like looking at it from the perspective you said, like that helps you realize that.
All right, so I don't think we're going to get to Putin again, are we? Which is very annoying. Very annoying, because I'm going to have to change the title of the stream. It was a great title. I have to change the thumbnail and everything. What are we going to call it? How Occupy Wall Street put on a clown nose. What are we going to call this one? Remembering the failure of Occupy Wall Street. I don't know what we call it.
Depends if we go to 2:30 or 3. Depends. See how you feel.
The first revolution started in Tunisia, but it quickly spread to Egypt. On January the 25th, 2011, thousands of Egyptians came out in groups across Cairo and then started moving towards Tahrir Square. It seemed like a spontaneous uprising, but the internet had played a key role in organising the groups. One of the main activists was an Egyptian computer engineer called Wael Ghonim. He worked for Google in Egypt, but he had also set up the Facebook site that played the key role in organising the first protests. As hundreds of thousands took over Tahrir Square, Ghonim gave an interview on Egyptian TV.
ما كانوش مصدقين يعني ايه شويه شباب انا كنت بسميهم على الصفحه زمان عيال الفيسبوك.
See, I feel like we've gone over this. I feel like Curtis has gone to this guy before.
Not that I'm aware. Not that I'm aware.
You don't mean King Fahd of Saudi Arabia, but they've got the same sort of nose. Like.
I feel like we've been over this material. Okay.
هم كانوا بيسمونا زمان ايام وقفات خالد سعيد في اول ما طلعنا خالص شويه العيال اللي على الفيسبوك اللي بيعملوا شويه دوشه مش مصدقين ان الشباب دول نزلوا بعشرات الالاف يوم ال 25. فارجوكم يا جماعه مفيش ابطال، الابطال هم الناس اللي في الشارع، الابطال هو كل واحد فينا. مفيش النهارده واحد راكب الحصان هو اللي بيضرب السرج ويحرك الناس. اوعى حد يضحك عليكم ويقول لكم كده. دي ثورة شباب الانترنت، دي ثورة شباب الانترنت اللي بقت بعد كده ثورة شباب مصر، اللي بعد كده بقت ثورة كل مصر.
But Ghonim was also overwhelmed by the power this new technology had. That a computer engineer with a keyboard could call out thousands of people, some of whom then died in the midst of the protests.
أنا عايز أقول لكل أم وكل أب بجد فقد ابنه. أنا آسف بس دي مش غلطتنا. والله العظيم غلطتنا. دي غلطة كل واحد كان ماسك في السلطة ومثبت فيها.
Pause.
عايز أمشي.
Who added on the music in the background?
That was the original broadcast. It was on an Egyptian station called Dream TV, and he was being interviewed by a lady called Mona El Shazli, and they kind of got to this end of the interview where she was sort of giving him support, sort of telling him off, and she was saying, don't be sad, Wael, and but they were kind of milking it, the camera was zooming in on his face, they had the sad music coming up, and she was kind of pushing it, saying, not your fault, you weren't to blame, but it's very sad. These youths were cut down in the prime like blossoms in a field and all this kind of stuff. And he was doing all this sort of thing. I've got the clips, I'll post them later. But he was saying, I was proud to be an Egyptian. I love my country. And one funny thing he said, there were even loads of women there. And what's more, there wasn't any sexual harassment at all.
Sounds like Nick Unwashed.
This is like a positive selling point that, we let the women out as well. Nobody harassed them. Amazing.
Which is apparently not true. I think there were a couple of rapes.
I had a message from Alexander Adams, who said that him and Pharaoh did a stream on the fakeness of grassroots protests and things like that before, and apparently we covered this on that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm remembering. I'm not going mad.
Yeah.
Many liberals in the West saw this as proof of the revolutionary power of the internet. Again, it seemed to be able to organise a revolution without leaders. A revolution powerful enough to topple a brutal dictator who had been backed by America and the West for 30 years.
Conveniently in the exact places where the US had interests. In exactly those places that the US had interests, exactly in but not in Saudi Arabia. No, only.
Do you remember there was an uprising in Saudi Arabia? Though there was an attempted uprising among the Shiites, who are the majority of the population. I think.
They did try down, probably.
Well, exactly, and in Bahrain as well. Bahrain, there was it's majority Shiite heavily, and they did have massive street demonstrations, and literally they just brought out all the forces and just cut some of them down and just sent them home. Yeah, just destroyed.
Libya was 132.
Yeah.
Do you think
all that happened was they got an authoritarian government? Wael went to live in the UAE and focused on doing tech startups and giving TED talks.
Apologies for the. Oh, go on, Karen.
Go on, Nick.
No, it was a fairly trivial interjection. I was going to say, do you think the Shiites ever thought about changing their name? You know how sometimes you have a name and you find out it means something in a different country, and they go, we got to change that. That happens quite a lot, doesn't it?
Branding.
Yeah, and even WWF had to change WWE, so you think they might have just thought about that.
But if you're a Mancunian and you say shite, you say like Shiite, it's really similar to Shiite.
Yeah,
I just wanted to pick up on one. That protester just then was holding up a sign saying Control Alt Delete, regime, right? That just reminds me, this is only a trivial thing, but do you remember when, before the term, when alt-right was the term for the, I don't know, the dissident right or the far right or whatever,
Yeah.
Majid Nawaz, who was like one of the sort of alt, I don't know, it's like he was sort of a supporter of the new atheism thing, and Sam Harris, and against like radicalism, having been a fundamentalist before.
Quilliam Foundation, yeah.
Quilliam, yep, state funded.
And he went sort of school of schizo later, didn't he? And he got sacked from LBC and kind of went off to have disappeared somewhat.
That's right. After I rang into LBC and tried to.
Were you the architect of his downfall?
No, he saw me coming. He totally handled me. He knew what I was trying to do. But that's another story. Anyway, he for a little while, about 10 years ago, had this phrase: Control Delete Alt Left. It was like a play on the Control Alt Delete thing, because the Alt Left were like the pro-Islamic left, meaning the same as the woke left now, like the Hamas, the supposedly pro-Hamas left. Well, actually, a lot of the left are pro-Hamas, aren't they? But yeah, he thought it was really clever at the time, like, got to delete the alt left.
Have you met him, by the way?
I haven't. I rang into LBC and talked to him, but that was all.
I met him and I found him. He was like a very charismatic person, and he sort of would like put his arm around you, you know, like kind of like you knew him forever, and he's like, yeah, I'll do your show and all this. He had a kind of one of those very charismatic people who, when you meet them, they sort of pretend like you know, they're able to make you feel like you all like so important to them. Apparently Boris Johnson is like that as well. And it's just,
I mean, to be fair, Nick, you were sitting all on your own on the complete table. It's not hard.
I was actually doing a gig, I think, and I was actually quite important on that night. Thank you.
All right, David Ginola. All right, let's go.
Wish I had the hair.
But the internet radicals were not the only ones who saw their dreams being fulfilled in the Arab Spring. Many of the political leaders of the West also enthusiastically supported the revolutions because it seemed to fit with their simple idea of regime change. It might have failed in Iraq, but now the people everywhere were rising up to rid themselves of the evil tyrants, and democracy would flourish.
This was a fantasy. Spoilers, everyone. I remember what happened.
So when an uprising began in Libya, Britain, France and America supported it. And suddenly, Colonel Gaddafi stopped being a hero of the West. All the politicians and the public relations people and the academics who had all promoted him as a global thinker suddenly disappeared. And Gaddafi became yet again an evil dictator.
Just two things. One, is that a John Carpenter track, Simon?
No, it's Pie Corner Audio, Black Mill videotape it's called.
It's a good track. I was just going to say that, yeah, like he doesn't name who he's talking about here, but Curtis, but like he means specifically David Cameron was well up for supporting these fanatics against Gaddafi. Nicolas Sarkozy even more so. And Obama, I think, wasn't as keen. Obama wasn't like that much of a warmonger, but Hillary Clinton was his Secretary of State, and she was. Those three people, especially, and also her advisors, I think Susan. No, I won't say the wrong names. I forget the names, but she had two particular advisors who were like even more fanatical than her for, you know, the rules-based international order or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, those three people in particular, Sarkozy the most of all. It was like there was a plan to unplug Africa and pour it into Europe, because that is what Gaddafi said would happen. That is what has happened. Most of the boat crossings into Europe across the Med come out of Libya. And this was enabled directly by this overthrowing, which was supported by, especially Sarkozy, Cameron. Sarkozy is someone who has said that, like, the future of Europe is miscegenation and stuff as well. Like, he's like, you know, he's specifically about like supporting racial mixing and, you know, racial blending Europe out of existence. So, this seems to have been about that.
Who had to be overthrown. His son Saif said, "The way these people are disowning me and my father is disgusting. Just a few months ago, we were being treated as honoured friends. Now that rebels are threatening our country, these cowards are turning on us. Colonel Gaddafi retreated to the ruins of the house that the Americans had bombed 30 years before and addressed the world.
Those who love Muammar Gaddafi is the glory. If I had a position, if I were a president, I would have resigned. I would have thrown my resignation in your face. But I have no position, no post. I have nowhere to resign from. I have my gun. I have my rifle to fight for Libya. Withdraw your children from the streets. Take your children back. They are dragging your children, they're making your children drunk, and they're sending them to hell. Your children will die. What for?
In November 2011, a large convoy was spotted driving at high speed away from Colonel Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte. An American drone, controlled from a shed outside Las Vegas, was sent to follow it. The operator fired a missile at the lead car of the convoy. Gaddafi then fled, looking for shelter from the oncoming rebel forces. He hid under the road in a drainage pipe.
Pause, please.
But instead of becoming a democracy...
Yeah, apparently, like, I don't know if this was true or confirmed, but apparently they used a knife on his rear end, like he was like killed in the most brutal manner.
It's a little unclear. There's some footage which appears to show somebody actually, it seems to have been like a sharpened stick. There was talk it was like a bayonet. Somebody had sort of stuck up his rectum. But yeah, he seemed to have had like a broken off broom handle type of thing. And in that sort of footage, it's been a bit abbreviated there, but he was sort of dragged around on the front of a car after being beaten up, and then he was pulled off the car. There was a bit of a scrum. And the story was he may have been caught in crossfire with rebels and hit, but it looks like somebody just shot him in the chest and the head.
Does everybody remember?
Wasn't this where Hillary famously laughed?
Yeah.
What was it? We came when he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like say if I don't know, say in the middle of the Cold War, what was like the coldest point? Say under Stalin, like late Stalin or something, or I don't know, like in Brezhnev's time. I don't know, but say if it was just announced that like a gang of I don't know some other gang had like captured the leader of the Soviet Union and murdered him, would the Western presidents and prime ministers celebrate and gloat about it?
I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have.
No, they would have been concerned, probably, like what it means for the stability of our relations and stuff. But this guy, they just decided this guy can be just killed by anyone. That's unusual. That's very unusual in international relations and stuff. To just sort of like accept and in some cases celebrate the murdering of a foreign leader. I don't know what it means, but it's unusual.
Dark passage in American state. I mean, I feel like America's becoming more and more rogue in this direction. From then until current day.
It's just so
there's no mask. There's no mask anymore. They don't even try anymore.
And they don't want to be seen as anything better. They're happy to be seen as just like really sort of tawdry thugs. Strange.
Libya began to descend into chaos. And the other revolutions were also failing. The Occupy camps had become trapped in endless meetings. And it became clear that there was a terrible confusion at the heart of the movement. The radicals had believed that if they could create a new way of organising people, then a new society would emerge. But what
I mean, they just need to read one book on elite theory to know that this plan was destined to fail.
What they did not have was a picture of what that society would be like, a vision of the future. The truth was that their revolution was not about an idea. It was about how you manage things. And those who had started the revolution in Egypt came face to face with the same terrible fact. Social media had helped to bring people together in Tahrir Square. But once...
That's a pretty cool go man, isn't it? That's better than any go man I've ever seen.
It's also a testament to the camera. It's got a good eyes because it's a very sharp image to explain the situation at this point. You've got, they've created the image of the man running, making progress, but the real person is just standing idly filming it with a camera. It says something about where they were at imaginatively.
When do we get the animated go man here? It's still just the same one we've always had.
There, the internet gave no clue as to what kind of new society they could create in Egypt. The movement stalled. And a group that did have a powerful idea, the Muslim Brotherhood, rushed in to fill the vacuum. The Brotherhood took power in an election, and one of them, Mohamed Morsi, became president. The liberals and the left were shocked, and bit by bit they turned back to the military.
Feel like he didn't quite. Curtis could have said they had a more powerful idea, and they were better organised, and they were more organised, because that would be the actual thing that got them in, not just their vision, it's their superior organisation. So
I noticed there that he didn't specify, did he? But like Mohamed Morsi was the head of the Muslim Brotherhood Party.
Yes.
The Brotherhood itself is, I think, banned, or it's like a background organisation, but it's understood to be behind various groups, including Hamas. But yeah, like his party won on behalf of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Muslim Brotherhood idea can't be banned. And that was what Morsi was. And then I think after this documentary was made, like Morsi, loads of his followers were executed, and Morsi, I think, died in prison.
Yeah,
and then
General
LCC
took over.
Yeah, so Morsi was prime minister for like 1 year or something, I think, or less, and just constantly in the midst of a coup, basically. And yeah, they just got their military junta back, right? It's quite openly approved of by the US. They were like, yeah, we don't want this. Like the Muslim Brotherhood's bad for Israel, so we don't want that. We liked Mubarak. All right. I remember at the time Hillary Clinton was asked, do you not find it a bit like self-contradictory that you're backing the dictator here? And she's like, who's the dictator? They said Mubarak. I said, I don't think he's a dictator exactly. And she just danced around it. But it was like, no, Morsi was elected and Sisi and Mubarak were military dictators. It is as simple as that. And she just evaded that question. It was amazing to watch. It's like, oh, yeah, we support the democracies. No, you don't. You subvert the democracies in the Middle East. You support the Saudi monarchy and you support the military dictatorship of Egypt. You're just liars. And the other thing was, at the same time, I remember Bahrain started having its protests, and it looked like the Bahraini monarchy, which obviously represents a very small minority of the population there, was going to be overthrown. And I remember during that, William Hague went over there and basically told the Bahraini regime, you hold on to power, we'll give you loads of stuff, like money, weapons, and everything. And they did. Like, he just struck some deal with them, and they were like, yeah, they just started killing people and started terrorizing the population. And they got their way. So Bahrain was, just like, no, we want that one. We want that one to stay in place. Just like that. Yeah.
Testing, asking them to save the revolution from being captured by Islamists.
Sorry, pause again, please. I just meant to pick up on one thing. Curtis characterized the last bit as the liberals of the country, like I guess he means like the upper middle class and whatever. They were scared of Morsi. They demanded that the military came back in. Now that may be true, but who rules in Egypt, I submit, is determined more by the US Secretary of State and the presidency rather than by liberals in Egypt.
Yeah, and ultimately by Israel. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
In the spring of 2013, the military took action. They arrested the president and killed hundreds of his supporters who protested. And an extraordinary spectacle unfolded in Tahrir Square. Thousands of the liberal activists who had begun the revolution 2 years before, summoned by social media, now welcomed the military back.
I should say there's a pretty good video on Egypt by Real Life Law, where he talks about what a tricky situation Egypt is in. Because it's basically like the country, it's like a tinderbox being kept artificially by this top-down regime. And it's all about how they're trying to build a new capital so they don't get overthrown, like a capital in the middle of the desert, away from Cairo, because it's too easy for protesters to get to the capital. It's interesting. So you can watch that in your own time.
By waving their laser pens at the helicopters flying overhead. The crowd had been summoned there, once again, by Facebook. After the failure of the revolutions, it was not just the radicals. No one in the West had any idea of how to change the world. At home, the politicians had given so much of their power away to finance and the ever-growing managerial bureaucracies that they, in effect, had become managers themselves. While abroad, all their adventures had failed, and their simplistic vision of the world had been exposed as dangerous and destructive.
Pause.
But in
would I be right?
I'm really happy we got to Putin. Sorry, we've actually made it to Putin. But go on, Horace. Go on. Sorry.
Was that last bit of footage perhaps taken from the DLR, like riding on the Docklands Light Railway? It really looked like it. Has anyone ever done that journey by any chance? You take it through.
I've been on the DLR many times to go to Canary Wharf and Canada Water and kind of.
Yeah, like I understand. We probably all hate like glass and steel cities and stuff, but like I on the rare occasion when I get on the DLR, I do quite enjoy that little slow, smooth trip through Canary Wharf. It's quite elegant.
If you sit at the front, it's like an exciting roller coaster ride, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a good place that does salt beef sandwiches down there somewhere.
Because you can see out with the DLR, you can see out the front and the front carriage, which you can't do in a tube. But anyway, in case people.
The first time I went on the DLR when it was really new and I was a little kid, I was with my mum and her friend went, "Oh, do you want to go see the driver?" And she took me to the front of the train. There's no driver. She took me to the back. There's no driver.
I don't know if it's still there, but about 10 years ago, maybe even longer. 12, 13 years ago now, there was a bit they'd made down that neck of the woods where there was like a cinema, there was like a few different like bars and restaurants and things, and like a little bridge that went over. I used to go down there quite regularly. It was quite nice down there because it wasn't that when all the workers weren't there. It was quite quiet on the weekends. Yeah, we used to go there fairly regularly. I don't know if it's still there now, but I watched a lot of films in that cinema. Yeah.
So, like a lot of Canary Wharf is now like terrorized in quote marks by ladies in pink running around demonstrating. So that's good. Apparently, that is one of their tactics. They don't just hover outside that hotel. They go around making a noise and a sight around Canary Wharf to try and raise awareness and stuff.
In Russia, there was a group of men who had seen how this very lack of belief in politics and dark uncertainty about the future could work to their advantage. What they had done was turn politics into a strange theatre.
This is it. This is what I've been waiting for, Simon. I'm so excited.
This is it.
Where nobody knew what was true or what was fake any longer. They were called political technologists, and they were the key figures behind President Putin. They had kept him in power, unchallenged, for 15 years. Some of them had been dissidents back in the 1970s and had been powerfully influenced by the science fiction writings of the Strugatsky brothers. 20 years later, when Russia fell apart after the end of communism, they rose up and took control of the media. And they used it to manipulate the electorate on a vast scale. For them, reality was just something that could be manipulated and shaped into anything you wanted it to be.
There's the owner of GB News.
What are you saying?
Yeah, I don't get it. What do you mean?
Well, this is a clip from Stalker, the film that he talked about a few episodes back.
It's the ending, I remember.
Yeah.
Changing reality.
Yeah. You discover the little character, the girl, who you haven't seen for most of the film, has got telepsychic powers. This is in contrast to the journey of the main characters who go into this zone where everything is simply confused and broken down, and they have no sense of their own personal agency. And she's a kind of strange contrast at the end of the film.
But then a technologist emerged who went much further, and his ideas would become central to Putin's grip on power. He was called Vladislav Surkov. Surkov came originally from the theatre world, and those who have studied his career say that what he did was take avant-garde ideas from the theatre and bring them into the heart of politics.
I'd love to find out that he's secretly behind Trump as well, or something like that. Just the whole last 10 years of Western politics is down to a figure like this.
I suspect there is a lot of that, because what you see is the sort of transition of Surkov's methods into, we might call these things nudge, or we might have units like Raiku, or we might have put up parties, but essentially it's in its modern iteration, it's coming from the way Surkov has developed old Soviet ideas. You all remember the Yuri Bezmenov video,
Yes.
where the KGB used to run what was called active measures, and that was the kind of old-fashioned analog, effortful propaganda, or spying, overseas, and to some extent attempting to take over discourse. But obviously, as we saw, the CIA was far more effective at taking over institutions. But Surkov comes in with this weird experience behind him. Interestingly, he likes Jackson Pollock and Allen Ginsberg's beat poetry, but in his office in the Kremlin, he had a big portrait of Tupac Shakur.
See, I believe something like this is being done to British politics right now, Simon, that the whole reform is not even a real political party. It's like an artist impression of a thing, of a party. And you see, this is why I'm giving some of these slightly more schizo ideas purchase at the moment, because I do think that there is a Punch and Judy theatre element setting up Starmer's government as like an ultimate evil that must be like brought down, and this is like slipped up by GB News watchers and boomers and all of you lot in order to kind of bring about this kind of Americanization of British politics under Farage.
Can I add one thing to that, which I was thinking, you just reminded me, I was thinking earlier. So if you're talking about Alistair Campbell, he's always saying, well, Farage gets too much airtime.
Correct.
And,
yes.
and you're agreeing with him. But therefore, though, what is Campbell's role in the kayfabe? Because it's not a much more establishment figure than Campbell. If you were going to be he seems to be the heel. Maybe it's like a double heel match. But if anything, Farage is being set up as the baby face, right? As you kind of just said there. And therefore, Campbell would be the heel. But and very much like a heel, he goes, why is this guy getting all the attention? I should have the attention. And it's kind of heel thing to say. But he's very much part of it as well. His role, therefore, is to complain about Farage, actually, but sort of being part of the same whole game, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is my issue with Campbell and Stewart, is that they just lean into the kayfabe. That's why, like, they point all this stuff out, and then they're like, but actually Farage is a proto-fascist and all this bullshit as well. So
there's an interesting article from the FT from a few years ago called Vladislav Surkov, quote from him, "An overdose of freedom is lethal to a state." And he talks about when he was a student, he studied Commedia dell'arte. And he says, this was interesting to him. He says, there is a limited cast in Commedia dell'arte. Pantalone, the merchant. There is a judge, Tartaglia. There is Harlequin, a stupid servant. Brighella, a smart servant. Colombina, the young servant, and so on. There is a limited group of players, but they represent all strata of society. The journalist says, I'm initially bemused by this detour into an Italian theatrical nomenclature, but it soon becomes clear. Surkov again. People need to see themselves on stage, he continues. In this masked comedy, there is a director, there is a plot. And this is when I understood what needed to be done. With Putin, I realized everything that I wanted to do could be done now. We had to give diversity to people. I don't think he means diversity in the way we think of it. But that diversity had to be under control, and then everyone would be satisfied. And at the same time, the unity of the society would be preserved. It works. This model works. It's a good compromise between chaos and order. And what he coined was a phrase called sovereign democracy, which was essentially advising Putin to maintain an idea of democracy as a sort of closed system that was particular to Russia and its particular kind of historical and cultural background, and that you have what was called managed pluralism. So you could have political competition, but it was tightly controlled. So the opposition parties would exist, but the Kremlin, in the figure of Surkov, would always ensure that whatever the dialectic between them was, it always essentially supported the Kremlin line. And,
sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. That doesn't it, Simon?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
There was a strong element of patriotic mobilization, ideology fostering national pride and anti-Western sentiment, and it would portray Russia as a besieged fortress against NATO, etc. And at the center of it, strong leadership. It was the idea that the outside was interfering in Russia, and that you could have democracy, but it was an internal exercise where the sovereign element of the democracy was you were representing the sovereign wishes of the Russian people, but the system itself wasn't about your individual desires being played out through votes. It was that the best, if you like, interests of the country would be looked after by that form of democracy. And what happened was, after the period where the oligarchs looted Russia, Putin essentially called a lot of them to a meeting and began his sort of takeover primarily of the media in order to start to inflect the messaging. And then he put the oligarchs on the spot and did a kind of, you're with me or against me. And he made an example of a few of them. One of them, Khodorkovsky, actually was a guy who'd employed Surkov as a bodyguard. And Khodorkovsky had been so impressed by Surkov, he gave him a PR job. And Surkov ended up essentially allowing Putin to eat him among the first of the oligarchs. What was instituted was this idea of adapting the old KGB style approach of what you call active measures, as I said, into what was called reflexive control. And this is an idea of essentially managing affairs so that your enemy defeats himself by his own poor choices. And part of that is a kind of flooding the zone with lots of confusion. And so you effectively induce the enemy towards the outcome you want by him perhaps attempting to fight what you want, but making the wrong choice in the end.
Oh boy, does that ring true? Does that ring familiar?
Fascinating. It's kind of like a real life version of the director from the Truman Show or something. This guy, isn't he? I mean,
So-
he's kind of yeah.
Does it not leave you wondering, like, why should we think of this as a Russian phenomenon? This is the model of rulership.
Well, I think that's what Curtis was doing, wasn't he? He was kind
He'd
of
literally say that a little way down, yeah, that this stuff has started to creep into the West, and we've simply rebranded it. But essentially, it is the same sort of Sokovian playbook.
Wait, that could still imply that the West learnt it from him, though. I don't mean that. I mean the West. Like the way that the BNP were treated long ago, decades ago, by police, by all sorts, officials, not just other rival politicians, suggests that like there was just an agreement in the background amongst, I don't know who exactly, but yeah, like these are outsiders. These are not approved opposition, and these have got to be genuinely kept down. Right, that was the story of the BNP. And that's going back at least to the early 90s, like well before we ever heard of Surkov, right?
And that's what this guy is saying about the Graham Linehan and the Lucy Connolly, saying that these are figures of the quote unquote approved right. so they get to enter into the discourse and the kind of theatre show that they put on, whereas certain other people who've been arrested and so on are kept out and aren't allowed to do media and aren't allowed to do, they don't get the 15 Spectator articles written about them. They're just never mentioned. Sam Elio as an example. So
yeah, Sam Elio, like Lucy Connolly's crime, like she actually confessed to the crime. Like Sam Elio was put away on the basis of a perception of stickers that were known to be legal, that the court agreed were legal. But it was possible for them to convince the jury that there was a perception of racism behind it. So like it was a really nebulous thing. And so Lucy Connolly has been made into a sort of a hero. But she did plead guilty to the crime. I know that a lot of arseholes say that, but she did plead guilty to a crime.
But the point is, she's on the reform stage, and all over the media, and you don't care about.
All over. Toby Young, Lord Young supports her. Yeah.
Surkov's aim was not just to manipulate people, but to go deeper and play with and undermine their very perception of the world, so they are never sure what is really happening. Surkov turned Russian politics into a bewildering, constantly changing piece of theatre. He used Kremlin money to sponsor all kinds of groups, from mass anti-fascist youth organisations to the very opposite, neo-Nazi skinheads.
Wonder where we've seen this before.
That footage there, that's of the Nashi, which was essentially a kind of almost cult of personality movement around Putin, but one which was nationalistic, and I think probably would qualify as being described as a national Bolshevik in its sentiment. And they have these regular sort of camps. I can't remember where it was now, but these mass sort of camps or / rallies, and Putin would come along and lean into the whole thing of man of the people while he was being bigged up by this kind of these artificial parties that Surkov was beginning.
And liberal human rights groups who then attacked the government. Surkov even backed whole political parties that were opposed to President Putin.
Just mental. Amazing.
But the key thing was that Surkov then let it be known that this was what he was doing, which meant that no one was sure what was real or what was fake in modern Russia.
Pause. Just as you said about Stewart and Campbell, you then admit what's being done. And the interesting thing that Curtis maybe doesn't make clear here is Surkov said he'd set up these opposition groups in this kind of fake conflict, but crucially he didn't tell people which ones, so people still didn't know.
And that's it. I mean, you think about the landscape now. Everybody always says, well, is this organization legit? Are they feds? Blah, blah, blah. So basically everybody in our society is in a constant state of, is Tommy real? Is he not? Is he playing a part? Is Farage real? Is he not? All of these sorts of questions. It's exactly the same system. Exactly the same.
He had a specific program of things like leveraging social media and the mainstream media to sort of gatekeep information and to target and disseminate information in real time.
Like we're falling through the matrix here, friends.
Uncanny.
As one journalist put it, it's a strategy of power that keeps any opposition constantly confused. A ceaseless shape-shifting that is unstoppable because it is indefinable. Meanwhile, real power was elsewhere, hidden away behind the stage, exercised without anyone seeing it. And then, the same thing seemed to start happening in the West.
This literally went out on what, BBC One? BBC One this went out.
I think this was an iPlayer film, actually.
Wow.
This is where he's been given reserved space to do much more.
I remember it was a big deal when it came out. This one seemed to create a bit of a buzz. or not just online, but like in real life as well. So fascinating that this was kind of through Curtis revealed as well. They told the public this is happening.
Hey, what? I cut out I lost sound for a second. Did you say? Were you just asking about this documentary?
Yeah, I seem to remember it was a quite big deal when it came out in 2016. Yeah.
This one travelled way beyond the existing Curtis audience. It was talked about by people I'd never heard of mentioning Curtis before.
Yeah.
By now, it was becoming ever more clear that the system had deep flaws. Every month, there were new revelations of most of the bank's involvement in global corruption, of massive tax avoidance by all the major corporations, of the secret surveillance of everyone's emails by the National Security Agency. Yet no one was prosecuted, except for a few people at the lowest levels. And behind it all, the massive inequality kept on growing. Yet the structure of power remained the same. Nothing ever changed.
Nothing ever happens, eh? Maybe we should call it here at 2:26 because we're never going to get to the end. Yeah, there's been a few super chats and things. I mean, I remember this blew my mind when I watched it the first time around almost 10 years ago now when it first came out. I've always remembered that sequence with Surkov, and in many ways informs a lot of my own subsequent thinking too. I mean, when you start thinking about it, it's just like, how do you explain this to any normal person? How do you? It's just kind of crazy.
It is the clown show. Power is going on elsewhere. Democracy is staged.
So yeah, we've got that last denouement to come. AJ98 says peak boomer truth slopaganda is a scene in the film Darkest Hour where the fat pig Winston Churchill asks diverse London tube passengers if he should sell the country out to applause. Every aspect of it is a lie. I know I never watched that film, The Darkest Hour. Did any of you guys?
Yeah. That is the worst sequence. It's the most absurd. It's been remarked on frequently for its woke casting. Suddenly asked a guy called Marcus what to do about the war. It is absurd. The film's quite good apart from that. Even aside from obviously, and certain people hate Churchill, but as a film, I suppose.
AJ98 also says, I've been rewatching An Ocean Apart. Would you say that Macmillan was the least worst Tory PM? All terrible, of course. 2 black marks of beaching and accelerated withdrawal of colonies. Well, you will notice I did not put Macmillan on my 10 leaders worse than Blair. So, yeah, he must be the least worst Tory. I like his avuncular style and his pipe. And he's famous for saying you've never had it so good. But if you have a look and work out wages versus real costs, he was basically correct. That is still, people have never had it so good. But, the average worker's never had it so good since Macmillan. So, yeah, maybe he's right.
Does the question refer to Tory leaders since Churchill?
Yeah. I mean, Churchill was the first one on the list. So, after 1945.
I did one of those political online quizzes, and it's like, which leader are you? I came out as Harold Macmillan.
Well, there we go, Nick. You must be the best. Must be the best.
I think I mentioned this before, but one thing that makes me one thing among many things I dislike about Macmillan, but that I like about him was that in the First World War, I think I said this before, but he was trapped in a crater, like he couldn't advance. He'd just be killed if he advanced. So he was just hiding in a crater for a few hours. And he happened to have, as you do in the middle of a battle, a copy of Homer's, I think it was the Odyssey. No, sorry, the
Iliad.
The Troy. The
Oh,
Iliad.
okay, yeah.
And the Iliad. And he sat there reading it in the original Greek, like the Battle of the Somme or whatever. I love that.
That's pretty cool of Macmillan. Yeah, he's just got he's also quite fun to watch because he's just so of his era, So it's kind of comforting when you see Macmillan. Binary Surface says, "I hope all is well, lads. Just a brief listen for me while I'm walking at lunch on an office day. Brackets work. P.S. Have you seen Steve Bannon's interview with Steve Edgington? He's done a new one. Chris quickly, Nick, what stuff on Bannon Edgington?
Yeah, I haven't watched it because it just came out. I checked; it was out like yesterday or something. But that could be one that me and Simon could do on the stream.
So, I mean, from what I've seen, the clips are pretty interesting. He nails Farage for being centre right. What do you call him? A barroom Thatcherite or something. He also apparently, Nick says that Fuentes defeated Tucker Carlson on that same interview. So.
Yeah, well, and so did the New York Times, incredibly, but have said that. Yeah, Bannon's changing a bit, isn't he? They have titled it "Why Civil Wars Coming to Britain" or something, so you won't like that. But yeah, Edgington exists, as I've said before, probably in this strange netherworld GB, which is not normal GB America, and he just gets all these really, well, quite based interviews, doesn't he? That you wouldn't see. You might see Bannon occasionally on GB, but he interviews people you'd never see on there. Carl being one of them.
Massive props to Stephen Edgington. He has done the work of 20 journalists all in one, and he's like young as well. Well done to him.
Yeah.
Binary Surfer also says AA is entirely correct. Reform Tory merger next general election. Yeah. It's just mathematically inevitable. Not Kagua says, when is the hope for everyone to normie max and watch the next sports ball? When it was over before it began. Learn Cyrillic and go to Russia, I guess, he says. Jay says, elite panel lineup. Banana Bender says, AA, please, what is the intro song? Well, we talked about that earlier. Maximus Aquila says, as Nick is a fellow Cumbrian, how many Wainwrights has he completed?
Well, my grandpa on my mother's side used to do them with a friend of his called Colin. But yeah, I've not really done them because when you're really from the area, you don't even do that kind of thing. You just go down the pub and drink and have fights because you're actually just from a small northern town that happens to be surrounded by mountains. So it's more likely people who are not from the area that actually do that.
All right, says everyone withdraws into their own small gated community, afraid of a larger forum. The different cardinal truths neither clash nor mesh. Noah is invalidated, but nobody is right. MGS2, 2001. Is that Metal Gear Solid 2, is it?
Yeah, sorry, could I just reply to one of those? If this is an elite panel lineup, can I be upgraded from like Parler to say Figo or something? Or, I don't know, someone really, really good.
But I can't have too much attack. I need some grit. I need some workhorse.
You could be an elite defender like Yap Stam.
Imagine I've already got Ginola. If I had Figo as well, that's asking a lot of Simon to do the defensive work.
I'll be Kieran Dyer. There we go.
To be honest, I struggle here because I just realized I ran out of energy completely towards the end. And what it is, I realized I've been on calorie restriction. And I suddenly had nothing. So who's a player that would just sort of start well, but then tank?
David Platt. David Platt was the ultimate kind of disappear for 80 minutes type player. And then he'd crop up
how
with a
did
goal,
he? Well, yeah, because he scored famously in the quarterfinal against Belgium in the last minute of extra time.
I mean, David Platt would just be nowhere in the game, and then he'd crop up with 2 goals.
That was excellent.
I'm like that, but without the goals.
Little known spell at the end of his career, 3 years though. He went to Arsenal, where he was an excellent player. He was superb. David Platt, he was well.
Yeah, I'll never forget that magical moment against Belgium in 1990. Gaza sets it up with the chip from the free kick. Platt spinning on the volley, incredible.
Tony said, meant for yesterday's stream. If you thought MAGA was the embodiment of the Kali Yuga and the mass man, Reform have taken it to a whole new level. That conference had all the energy and taste of an effing Butlins concert. I mean, it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. I mean, surely you'd all agree that it's not contrarian to say that the Reform conference is one of the cringiest things ever to happen in the history of man.
I mean, it's too cringy to watch. Yeah, it's awful. Awful.
Clear Them Out says, I was in Egypt during the Arab Spring. We got stuck in a resort outside Cairo for a week. Nothing to do but drink and watch Russians tourists drink. Gaz O says, Katie Hopkins trained as a spy. Check out her wiki. Interesting. Okay. Wasn't she like an apprentice candidate? Is that right?
Yeah.
She was, yeah. But she has a military background, doesn't she? I think as well.
Yeah, I think she was. Yeah, went to Sandhurst or something, and then she was stood down for some health problem.
Broman Henk says the Occupy footage was actually a great null hypothesis for the Iron Law. Easy visualization of redundancy and slowness in decentralized organization. Banana Bender said, "Is the 3.5% rule bullshit?" Well, what is the 3.5% rule? Anyone? I don't know what that rule is. And Wellesley Botton says, "My favorite guest on the Deepest Law is Nick because he never pauses the video. Carry on, lads. Excellent stream."
Thank you, Wesley. Yes, I do my best to never pause it. My idea, as I've said, my idea is to silently watch the whole video, never commenting. It's a kind of meta sort of art, a bit like John Cage's 4 minutes 33, which is of course famously just silence. What if we watched it just silently? But it's different from watching the film because we're there.
Like our avatars are all down the side, and
yeah, but we say nothing.
I told a story before, by the way, Nick, that I once performed that piece that you mentioned.
Did you?
Yeah, it was in youth theatre, where we were rehearsing for some show, King and I, or whatever that we were doing, and there was like a little miniature talent contest, and obviously because they were all lovies, because they were all singing, like everybody used it as a chance to show off and show what they were made of. And me and my mate said, "Well, we'll enter," and we put down what the piece was, and he sat at the piano. I stood at the microphone, and then we were completely silent. And obviously, because our drama teacher knew what the score was, he knew what we were up to, and we lasted about 30 seconds before the stage was stormed by a group of lads dressed as the Spice Girls, who rugby tackled me onto the floor and would not allow our absurdist performance to go on. Unfortunately,
wow, that would never happen to John Cage. That's appalling.
They wanted a zig art, and you weren't bringing it.
I can only imagine what would happen if I tried to do that at my state school that I went to in a northern village. It would have gone very badly.
Oh, yeah, I looked up 3.5% rule. Apparently, it means the way that a small organized minority can change the world.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's basically it's correct. Basically, it's correct. But I would say you don't need 3.5%. It's probably even fewer than that. You need like 1% maybe.
Yeah, it sounds like it's related to the theoretic adoption curve. A new idea goes, the first 3.5% of people are innovators, and then you've got 12.5% of early adopters, and then once you reach 16% adoption of an idea, it then snowballs and begins to take over.
Who's just come in with the last minute super chat saying, "Great stream, AA. Thanks to the panel. I've shared and featured on Facebook. Remember to load up crypto. It's about to rip. Meth, XRP." So there we go. All right, folks. Pick up a course, like I said, at the academic agency. Nick, where can people find you, sir?
Oh, I'm on Nick Dixon on YouTube. Where I have a podcast hopefully coming out later today if I have the energy. Very interesting recent one with Stephen Barrett. Interesting recent one with Academic Agent. And of course, I'm at nickdixon.net, my Substack, and at NJDixon on Twitter. Thank you.
Horace.
I'm sorry, I just saw someone in the chat saying I talk too much. That's ridiculous. I think if you analyse it, I talk the least. Anyway, sorry, I'm on Twitter at Infinite Horace. Thanks, everyone.
We need maybe AI. Back in the day, it would have been Autist, but maybe if an AI went through all the streams, we can make stats. How many pauses, how many minutes talked on stream. Can you imagine the breakdown?
I talk pretty quickly.
Nick would be going for like 0%, 0 pauses, 2 minutes out of 3 hours, But
I talk a bit at the start when it's aimless banter, when Simon doesn't talk. Later, Simon talks more about the actual film, and then I stop talking. Horace just consistently pauses and says, "This is shit."
Yeah.
Also, the more Simon has time to talk, the more the benefit of his research. Simon researches like every minute of these documentaries.
I think percentage of football talk has gone up.
It's definitely gone up. I can tell you, you like that.
I love
telling you, hey, do a little side channel about football. I'll come on the football streams. I think we should section football off from this. Like even
Yeah, probably true. Probably it's probably my fault. One thing I might start doing is the impression. I've realized Curtis is actually, his voice is weirder than you think. It's society. That's how you do it. It's not actually just a posh, but it's actually really weird.
No,
it's like
hard.
society.
Yeah,
Society.
really hard impression. Yeah, nobody does a good Curtis, I don't think.
I've just started it there. You'll find that it will become.
It'll
good.
develop now. I'm on Twitter at Simon__Roberts, and I may be appearing again with Nick Dixon on one of our Saturday streams, assuming we get to work on that this Saturday.
We could either do a Spannon, or we could do a John Gray speech. I thought about doing it. Nick doesn't talk the most. Shut up. Some people just hate us. Someone's saying I was a newcomer as well. It's like, not really. I've done about 18 hours of these things now. But anyway, sorry, that was just pure bitterness. Yeah, hopefully join me and Simon on one of our streams. There's slightly less pausing.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, and catch you soon. And by the way, if you've been following the Madonna thing, it reaches its exciting denouement tomorrow, where I have my third and final video dedicated to bangers better than Madonna from the 80s. But the songs will carry on being released all the way till Christmas, possibly even more, possibly even beyond then. Although this will be controversial, I've been struggling to find, I said I'd do that rule where if they were song 1, they get song 101. Controversially, OMD, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, may be a second round casualty. I don't think they've got a second banger, unfortunately. Beyond they've got good songs, but are they bangers? That's the question. I don't really see a second. I've reviewed OMD's output, and I'm thinking they're going to be replaced. So if there's any big OMD fans, there's not going to be electricity or anything like that. All right, bye everyone.
What goes on in this town is none of your business.
As long as I'm living here, it is.
Then maybe you shouldn't be living here!
Well, that's easily fixed.